You're retiring soon. How much money do you need to live comfortably? Retirement Planners of America is here for you. Would you like to have financial peace of mind? Here's how. Step 1. Find out the amount of money you'll need to retire. Step 2. Have a plan to get there. Step 3. Make sure that plan can take advantage of market gains but protect you from market losses. Discover how to do all three with a free consultation at 800-508-6108. That's 800-508-6108.
All investments involve risk, including losses. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. Find the Children is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted car. Call 1-800-775-5622. You'll receive the maximum tax deduction, and we provide fast, free pickup. Call 1-800-775-5622. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Call 1-800-775-5622. This advertisement was paid for by Cars R Us and Find the Children.
Betting on your favorite sporting events just got a whole lot easier. Warhorse Sportsbook is now open in Omaha. Save yourself the drive across the river and put your money where your mouth is at Horseman's Park, 6303 Q Street. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
Hey everybody, it's Jimmy Allen
And former Nebraska quarterback Adrian Martinez.
You know the After Hours Lounge is open from 6 to 8 p.m. when the sports schedule allows.
And guess what? I'm stopping by from time to time.
When Rob Love's off for the night, Adrian's going to stop by and talk all things Nebraska football, what he's been up to in the NFL, and you know we're going to still talk all things high school sports.
And who knows what we'll get into. Maybe you'll get to ask me some questions, so stop by from 6 to 8 p.m. and check out the show.
Brought to you by Bellevue University and Papillion Sanitation here on 1620 The Zone.
I'm former Husker Terry Keneally.
And I'm former Husker Titus Adams.
Titus and I used to sack quarterbacks, but now we're fighting for the children of East Omaha.
Terry and I are on the board of the Q's Fund, which supports the Q's school system, made up of Holy Name, All Saints, and Sacred Heart School, which I am a proud graduate of.
Our students receive a values-based education with the family support they need.
And they go on to graduate high school at a 96% rate.
Learn more about our children at qschools.org.
O'Reilly. Protect your engine better with Syntec Full Synthetic High Mileage Motor Oil, only at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec High Mileage is formulated for today's engines with over 75,000 miles. Now get 5 quarts of Syntec High Mileage and a MicroGuard Select oil filter for just $34.99. Limits apply. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
1620 The Zone.
I think Emma's played really well, doing a great job as a third down back, doing a great job in route running the ball down between the tackles. The 4-minute run against Purdue to end the game was great. And I think you're just going to see him continually make jumps as he plays more, has more opportunities. Our defense just loves to go take the field, love to play. Even at the end, they wanted to play till the very end. this is going to be a game that I think will come down to the very, very end. Just like I said last week, that's what happens in November in the Big Ten. There'll be a real challenge, but it should be a really good, fun football game.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
You're cooking with gas.
Good morning on a Friday football fiesta. And we are in studio. And that's if you didn't see the message yesterday.
Yeah, that sucks.
I know, right? I want to make this clear, too. So, Sharpie, I got a little bit of, and by the way, Gary Sharp is in the great state of Texas for
Fort Worth, Texas. Shout out this morning.
Yes, indeed. Did you get out to the stockyards at all?
No, it was when I got here yesterday. It was raining all day. So from hotel, airport, hotel, and then TCU.
Okay. Well, that's not how you're supposed to enjoy Fort Worth, Texas.
No, Billy.
I've only been there once, and I feel like I'm an expert of it. But Fort Worth, Jimmy, is this a hot take? Fort Worth much greater than Dallas?
It's a good time.
Okay.
They're downtown.
Yeah. Fort Worth, baby. That's what it's all about. So Gary's on the road. He's going to be with us for a little bit, and then doing a little travel. Got more hoops this weekend. It was a multi-screen night last night. Whether we had, well, I don't know what that was, but I want to set the record straight on. So we were supposed to be at Hy-Vee for unauthorized Big Red Breakfast, and I'd mentioned that we had
our own studio.
Yeah, we had logistic and technical issues. Now, Jimmy, you could speak more on the technical issues, but the logistical issues, which are actually very understandable,
They're cool.
is that they do a free breakfast for all veterans at all the Hy-Vees on this day. And so that's really cool. And obviously where we set up is usually right around the breakfast area. So
we didn't have enough footballs.
And we didn't have enough footballs, which would have been bad. I did receive, I don't know if this person was being sarcastic or if they were like, they really wanted to see us out at Hy-Vee, but they said, well, why don't you just kick the veterans out? I was whoa.
Yeah.
What is this?
Why don't we make sure that anybody that is a veteran do not go to the Nebraska game in a place called Memorial Stadium tomorrow?
Yeah. I'm the lucky one with the Ted Carter motorcycle as well. So yes, we're not. We weren't ever trying to. We weren't complaining. We weren't saying, "No, we should be doing that." We understand. We'll be back at Gretna's Hy-Vee the Tuesday or the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Getting ramped up for the Black Friday game between Nebraska and Iowa. So that's when we'll be back out there. We had no problem with this whatsoever, but that was the issue in case anybody was wondering.
So we should mention, and our good friends at Hy-Vee, and it's unfortunate we were going to be at the 83rd and Cass Hy-Vee, and as Nick mentioned, we'll be in Gretna the day before Thanksgiving to preview the Iowa game. But the one thing Hy-Vee really does, and they have done this for years and years and years, and tomorrow is Veterans Day, but a lot of people are celebrating Veterans Day today, that if you are a veteran or an active duty military, you can go to Hy-Vee and you can enjoy their free buffet-style breakfast at any of the Hy-Vees through 10 a.m. Plus, they are giving all of our nation's heroes, the vets and current active duty military, 15% off purchases.
Yeah.
So it's a great deal that Hy-Vee is doing. Unfortunately, it did not work out. But take advantage if you are a veteran and headed to Hy-Vee today. Plus, we will still have your opportunity to enhance your experience for bowl eligible Saturday in Lincoln.
That's a good way to dub Saturday. To dub tomorrow is bowl eligible Saturday. So Sharpie, I'm trying to figure out what my Big Red overreaction with Josh Peterson is going to be like tomorrow, which by the way is on Coil. So make note of that. But this one, I've said this. I said this yesterday when I was talking to Sip about this yesterday too. And even with Connor, very little feel of how this one might go. There's expectations that I think are reasonable in this one, and that is if I am to expect anything in this game, I'm expected that Nebraska defensively will be more aggressive. Nebraska defensively, what you heard from Tony White on Tuesday, will be more evident with that side of the football. Everything other than that, I don't know. I don't know how Maryland's offense will respond. Maryland's defense in soft coverage, listening to a couple of their beat writers talking about how they're not very good defending the intermediate passing game, but can they take advantage of that offensively? Like, there's just a lot of things. And then there's the home element, which I feel good about, because other than the Michigan game, which we can all excuse that away because Michigan's just that damn good, Nebraska's been fine at home. There seems to have been a legitimate comfort at home. So at the very least, you have that. It's one of those games like last week. I felt good about Nebraska, Michigan State. Northwestern, I felt good. And so tomorrow, it's not that I feel bad. I have no strong feeling of how this thing might turn out tomorrow.
Yeah, Nebraska's goal is to make this less of a tension convention. So, because if Nebraska's chasing points, and Maryland's going to try and score quick, and they're going to try and turn this into a scoring derby, what Nebraska's going to do is try and play the game in a phone booth once again. Maryland's going to try and steal the phone booth, throw it into the street, and drive over it, and then back up and try and drive over it again. So they want this game to go fast. Nebraska, I think the best thing for Nebraska tomorrow is be as boring as heck. Just this game is boring. They run the football. They eat the clock. All of a sudden, they're pulling 10, 12-play drives out, and they're resulting in points. You'd rather have 7 than 3. But Nebraska plays boring football tomorrow. And if the game is boring, I like Nebraska's chances. But it's key for Nebraska to make this less of a tension convention where turnovers or harbor don't become a talking point. What becomes a talking point is Nebraska played Nebraska football minus the turnovers on how they've lived this entire season. And if that's the case, then Nebraska is going to be bowl eligible. But if they're chasing points even at home and Maryland all of a sudden finds its stride, because Maryland has fallen off the map since the second half against Ohio State. If Maryland is scoring quickly and they're not turning the ball over, then your big red overreaction with Josh is going to take pretty long. But I actually think Nebraska being boring tomorrow, just a boring, sleepy Peacock game, is the best case scenario for the Huskers to get to bowl eligibility.
It's a Peacock way. I get behind it.
Yeah. I was.
Are Peacocks boring?
No, actually, I think Peacocks are exact opposite. When you say you're peacocking, you're trying to get attention. Isn't that a thing? Like you're peacocking, so that means like you're trying to really get everyone's attention.
Wait a minute, I haven't gotten up on the lingo.
It's a fashion.
Isn't peacock? Yeah, but isn't peacocking? No. Peacocking is you act a certain way to attract a female, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're competing with other males.
Yeah, something out of the ordinary to stand out amongst the crowd.
Okay, so Nebraska is going to be doing a lot of peacocking tomorrow. They want to stand out. They're trying to attract these people that have divorced Nebraska in just a week and have said, "Nah, that's good. I'm good. This ain't going to happen again." Okay, but I just think as a peacock, you kind of live a little boring life. Like more people would like to look at you than you're looking at others.
I think that's fair. Yeah. You probably nothing probably really impresses you that much, because if you're a peacock and you are privileged to having a mirror, you look in the mirror and you're like, damn, look at me. Like what's that?
How many people that you run into that say, man, I'm going to the Henry Dorley Zoo. I'm going to look at the peacocks. Yeah. The peacocks are like the fourth tier of animals at a zoo.
Yeah, that's true. But
now,
whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, but now we're going to watch them. We're watching a network called Peacock for exclusive Nebraska Maryland tomorrow. Peacocks, when they try and court the female and they try and stand out and they make themselves all beautiful and I don't know what you call them, wings or whatever you call it, a peacock. I'm not up on my peacocking. Nebraska needs to put those wings away tomorrow and just be super boring. Don't have any like major talking points. They ran the ball efficiently. They had 10 to 12 play drives. They just did everything. Nothing flashy. They just were solid. And I'll tell you what, if they do that, they will beat this Maryland football team.
It's funny we talk about it, and I wouldn't disagree with that premise of less is more. Boring football is the formula for Nebraska. It's interesting though, if we've emphasized, and I know you've been a big advocate of this for Nebraska. I know this sounds. Let me preface this by saying, I know when we say this sounds sort of Captain Obvious, because obviously every team, regardless of your style, you want to get out to a quick start. You've said it a lot about this team, despite, Matt Rule's emphasis of he's not as concerned about the quick start as he is the fourth quarter and being able to be where they want to be in the fourth, and they can, use all of the toll of the game to their advantage in that quarter. It's interesting. Again, Maryland is another team that desperately, because I would agree, Nebraska, it behooves you in every game, but I think in this game especially, if they can get out to a good start, Maryland is going to be feeling that desperation as well. Now, Maryland is a desperate team with the schedule that they have in front of them. They get out to that 5-0 start, and this is probably, by all accounts, their most, or probably their best opportunity to become bowl eligible, and they've been kind of fighting those early starts. And when they trail, this is an offense that gets completely discombobulated. So that is, they have the ability to overcome a deficit for sure, more so than some of the teams that Nebraska's played previously. But all of a sudden, they start kind of getting out of what has worked in recent weeks. When they have trailed, all of a sudden, they've looked like kind of an unrecognizable offense. All of a sudden, Talia Tagovailoa is doing things that he doesn't want to do. All of a sudden, their running game goes completely by the wayside, and they're passing almost 80% of the time the rest of the way, and they're giving defenses a lot of opportunities. So as much as I think it's probably a good thing for Nebraska to get out to a quick start, it's probably even more imperative for Maryland too. And if they don't, if they have to play in that phone booth like you talked about, keep an eye on what Maryland tries to do offensively, where they start pressing, and then that's where I think you have opportunities defensively to get some takeaways.
Yeah, wouldn't it be amazing to have a game on tomorrow where turnovers and Harburg is not brought up?
Oh, that'd be great. Other than the Kearney. Yeah, he's from Kearney. Isn't that cool?
Well, I think this game, I believe that Maryland will get their yardage between the 20s. I think they will throw the ball a bit. You just hope that those throws are kept in front of you, that they're 7 to 10 yard plays instead of a bust and it goes for 17 and one goes for 42. But what are you going to do when you get into the red zone? That's why I think, how does Nebraska generate offense? Let's see what adjustments they've made. I'll give them credit. Going into the Michigan State game, the emphasis was we got to be better at the quarterback handoff game because that was sloppy against Purdue. It was better on Saturday. So this week it has been, well, let's get Emmett Johnson more involved. Let's pay attention to the turnovers. Let's be smart about this. Well, I expect to see, at least for this game, a result of that. So does that mean that Emmett Johnson does get the touches that we've all been clamoring for, showing that coaches read the papers, listen to the talk shows? Because that's the right way to play. I think just boring, efficient football, generating offense where you can sustain drives and you're okay with 3 to 4 yards on first down, and you get back up and you get another 4 yards on first down, and it's third down and manageable. And instead of throwing the ball on third down and 2, you like where you're going and you run it again. There's my formula to win tomorrow against Maryland. And I don't care what the score is. I don't care if you say, well, that's not really very attractive football. For Nebraska, wins are attractive. That's efficient football for where Nebraska is right now.
Yeah, we've said it for over a month now. There's no such thing as an ugly win when you're Nebraska. If you're winning, that's a thing of beauty. I don't care if it's 6-3. I don't care if it's 28 to 17. I don't care what it looks like. A win 1 point better than the other team that gets you to win number 6 with 2 games to go. There is no way to even dismiss any element of that whatsoever. Now, the weather, unfortunately, is supposed to be nice. I know that Matt Rule was hoping to be howling. It's supposed to be.
Hold on. Time out. When you make that statement in November, that is not ugly. That's okay.
No, it's fine with me. I don't think Matt Rule's a big fan of it, though.
Yeah, Matt Rule probably doesn't listen to Bill Ranby, because when he was saying I want it with snow and ice, and Ranby's looking at his forecast, he's like, in Lincoln? Is it going to be like that?
Move it to January, maybe?
Well, it's down in the South too, to us Omahans. So usually,
do we think Nebraska coaches and players can handle pressure?
We're about to find out.
There's a little built-up pressure tomorrow.
There is, and
it's self-created because you did not take advantage of the opportunities last Saturday that were given you, and there were a lot of opportunities that were given you. So I'm guys are getting squeezed a little bit. How do they respond? Who responds better, the coaches or the players, to I don't know, I'm gonna say the fishbowl, but the fact of you're now at home, you got an opportunity to get bowl eligible before you take on your two biggest rivals. How do you handle it? Do you play the same way and there's no sign of, oh my gosh, we got to win this game? Because I think that would be fantastic moving forward. If this team just looks like the team they've looked like for the last month, you never know if bowl eligibility is on the line or guys' jobs or whatever. Um, I that's what I want to watch early on, especially if they start to have to chase points.
It's because I think now with sort of that question, I think of when Tony White was asked this a while back about, a lot of the close games that Nebraska was in previously and some of the guys that he has on that side of the football that experienced that and the sort of the delicate nature of balancing how you're calling a game and knowing that there's some guys that are still kind of tense because they have a little PTSD with that. And they still have a little bit of those memories in their mind. So you want to make sure that some of your calls are sort of freeing them up. But, as a play caller, you can get kind of lost in that moment too. And that's not to say I think Tony White is all of a sudden going to become someone that he hasn't been all year. I guess maybe that's why I think the fact that they've already kind of acknowledged that before, like Tony White has sort of talked about that it's not like something that they completely file away as, oh, that was the last staff, the last team, that they're aware of what this team has been through. I think there's a lot of positive parts of not bringing up the past, but I think to acknowledge it and understand how it can impact you right now is always a healthy way to go about it. I don't think last week was necessarily that game where you learn about whether these guys can handle pressure or not, because last week was the game that it was sort of laid out. It's like, all right, we've got this. It's time to make it 4 in a row. It didn't happen. It sort of jolts you a little bit, both coaches and players. And now it's like, okay, you start looking at the rest of the schedule. Like, okay, we got Maryland at home. We got Wisconsin on the road. We got Iowa at home. Okay, we're running out of chances and we're running out of home games too. We need to make sure we take care of business right now. We've got a team coming in that's also struggling. So this, I would agree, way more pressure mounted on this game and the talk around this game than there was a week ago, where we were all ready to we gave Nebraska the benefit of the doubt last week. So I think once you feel that, the fans are like, or the players are feeling the fans' positivity of like, yeah, I mean, they think we're going to do it. We feel we're going to do it. And it didn't happen. Now it's like, now people are like, oh my God, we're going to lose out. Here we go again. And so that does change the narrative and the dynamic. So I think tomorrow does bring the pressure that wasn't there a week ago, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a week-to-week deal. I think it's the same team that played at Illinois on October 7th. I think it'll be the same team that plays on November 11th. For the record, give me Nebraska in 2.5 in this game. I'll take those 2.5. Okay. I think it'll be a tight game. It's just, can you make it a game where you feel like you're never out of control, where even when it's tied, you go, yeah, Nebraska's still in this football game. I know the general thought around here, because we do this. I mean, we talk 20 hours a week, is oh geez, Nebraska, they're going to do it to themselves again, and they're going to come up short and they tease you and they're going to finish 5-7, and it's such a letdown. I don't think it's a letdown tomorrow. I think Nebraska is who they are, and I don't like how Maryland's playing. They have the third best quarterback that Nebraska has seen this year and will see, but I don't like how Maryland is playing, where I go, Nebraska's in trouble. Tomorrow's game is strictly about Nebraska, by the way.
Agreed.
We can break down Maryland. Tomorrow's game is about the team that is playing at home. It's not about the other team on the other sideline.
Agreed, because I think if I'm hearing you correctly, if we're to say clean Nebraska plays a clean game, I love Nebraska in this game. I absolutely love Nebraska in this game. If we get a clean Nebraska game. So it being about Nebraska, it being about ball security, it being about the things that defensively where they didn't look crisp a week ago. If you correct those things and you look like Nebraska at its best, which we have seen, unfortunately, we have seen. It's not compared to Ohio State's best or Michigan's best or Penn State's best, but it's won them games because, and this is the other thing that I think people forget about going into this weekend, which maybe is a good reminder. This team has already done things that we did not see them do in the past. And you brought up that Illinois and that Northwestern game where you I can't remember how you described it so eloquently, like that big black hole where you're trying to pull, the other team's trying to pull Nebraska in with them. And
it's the hole of muck.
Yeah, the hole of funk and muck. And they refuse to fall victim into that hole other than Michigan State. But we saw moments in that Illinois game where they could have come unglued. Moments in that Purdue game where they could have come unglued. Moments in that Northwestern game where they could have come unglued. And they didn't do it. So there's 3 examples of Nebraska being able to do enough to not fall victim to that, as opposed to years past where we know what the result would have been. They would have made the key mistake in the key moment, and the other team would have taken advantage, and that would have been the difference.
Yeah. I mean, all the stats are out there about, and I just saw one this morning. Nebraska has lost 11 straight games in the month of November when they lose the turnover battle. And Rule is 1-10 when they are -3 or worse, which is crazy. I mean, there's no way anybody has a winning record when you are -3 or worse. But the part of the turnovers is real. The part of Harvard is real. What is real is tomorrow is all about Nebraska. What Nebraska does well with this current team and this formula to win, if they do it well tomorrow, they will beat the team that is on the other sideline. I don't care if they kick a last-second field goal, they win by a touchdown. If they do themselves, they will win the football game and not worry about what Maryland's doing.
As we get closer to this game, too, I believe you brought this up on Monday or Tuesday, and that is that this is a Marcus Satterfield game. I heard what you were saying then. As I've looked at more Maryland, and I know this is more about Nebraska, more Maryland, but also what Nebraska has and hasn't done in the moments where you could sort of turn the game offensively. Yeah, I'm bought in on that. This is a Marcus Satterfield game. A Matt Rule, Marcus Satterfield come together, be on the same page game is what it is.
We'll see what the tone is on Big Red Overreaction. Now, can we talk about something that now that I'm back on the road with Omaha men's basketball, and by the way, they lost last night to TCU, 82-60.
That was still a game there right before halftime.
Yeah,
it was like 8-point game.
They didn't let it get away from them. If that would be the point there, TCU's I think is going to be pretty good in the Big 12 conference. They just their size overwhelms a team like Omaha, and Omaha didn't shoot free throws very well. They doubled up their free throw attempts to TCU, which does not happen on the road when you are a mid-major compared to a high major. But they got out rebounded badly, and they weren't very good at the point. But they didn't get stomped, should I say? They were only down 10 at halftime, but that's not the story. Well, here, one quick story. They are not very confident. If you are looking at the Texas TCU line, there are a lot of people here in Fort Worth are not very confident in what's going to happen tomorrow night at TCU. Texas and TCU play. The line was 10.5. I've not looked at it since Quinn Ewers. They announced that he's coming back. It may have gone up. TCU folks are not like, oh my gosh, this is going to be an upset and we're going to ruin the Big 12's playoff hopes. So do what you will with that information. But the bigger story is why is in hotel room coffee so awful?
I've always thought that too. It's brown water.
Can you out where you're staying? Like, can you tell us
I'm
the hotel?
I'm at a Hilton Garden Inn.
Okay. So that's surprising because there's been a few hotel chains that I think do it better than others.
In-room coffee?
Yeah.
No, I don't know, man. I think they screw you because they want you to go downstairs and either in the Starbucks or somewhere else buy like the expensive coffee. Well, I refuse to put pants on right now, so I'm not going downstairs. So I'm stuck with the bad in-room coffee. If you stayed in a hotel recently, Nick, that had really good in-home coffee, please share because I would like good in-room coffee at 6 a.m.
Do you guys have any Hyatts in the future?
To be honest, I'm just week to week right now.
because I remember correctly.
That's relatable.
Hyatts actually have the Starbucks blend in the hotel rooms, or at least the most recent Hyatt I stayed at had that, which was a very pleasant surprise.
Bougie.
So yeah, it was kind of nice. And then I remember learning that there was a coffee shop just across the street. It was just like a local place too. So yeah, if I remember correctly, it was a Hyatt's that had okay coffee. I can tell you this, Embassy Suites, it's garbage. Embassy Suites. Yeah, it's not good because again, they've got the big breakfast buffet downstairs. And so that's where they're going to put their eggs into that basket. So if you're looking for in-room quality, I think it's going to be a very small percentage. But yes, if memory serves, the most recent Hyatt I stayed at actually had the Starbucks wrapped Keurig little plastic.
So maybe
things
the
that you
hack
use.
is bringing your own coffee.
Oh, we do that. My wife and I, and
have the
because
machine,
my
you can
wife
bring
is a
your own
major coffee snob. So if it's even debatable that there's not a coffee shop attached to a hotel, she'll bring some K-cups. Yeah, that's just traveling 101 right there. Yeah, I think there's definitely a reason for that. I don't think you're now stumbling upon something that whoa, didn't realize that. I think we've all accepted that our hotel coffee is going to be bad because if we're up that early in a hotel, obviously we got other things to worry about than our coffee. So we're just going to put down the diesel and we're going to try to find a better cup a little bit later on. I guess it's just enough to get you by. It's for hardcore coffee drinkers, Gary. That's what it's for.
Yeah, the coffee tastes as good as the cup.
At what point does the cup start seeping water and getting soft, though? Or is it a good quality cup? Because that's the other thing I've noticed is by the time you get halfway through the cup of coffee, I know even with the sleeve, you start noticing that this is a little wet and moist, and I think my coffee is going to start like breaking through the cardboard here.
Yeah,
is it a sturdy one? Okay.
Oh, there it is.
Hey,
That's
there was
at
a
the very
shameless
bottom.
plug. All right.
Yeah.
Nice
hotel. Nice
luxury
hotel.
without
Bad in-room coffee.
We've got our normal lineup as usual here on a Friday Football Fiesta, and we got Brett Ciancia coming up at 7:30. Also going to get picks from Lee Sterling. Mike Schaefer will be joining the show. Matt Verz will be joining the show as well. We've got a lot that we're going to be getting to. Also some Nebraska hoops from last night. Looked a little different than it did a couple of days ago, but it was a win indeed.
You said we'd overreact.
Yeah, well,
you said that.
Now we have the common opponent between Nebraska and Creighton to measure from as well.
Hey,
So
how
we've
come
got-
you're not more excited?
Because of the Bears game?
Yes.
I thought
And you
that-
don't have Bryce Young as your quarterback.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, some of the throws that he missed last night, good Lord. And people were trying to convince me that Bryce Young was better than CJ Stroud. Like, wow. Yeah, he was bad. He was really bad. Like, and they kept doing it during the broadcast, the Heisman Trophy winner and the Harlan Hill Trophy winner. Yeah, the Harlan Hill Trophy winner actually outplayed the Heisman Trophy winner. And one made millions of dollars and was the first pick, and the other I just stumbled upon a roster. I'm happy, but the fact that I had to watch that thing to the very end didn't make me so happy because if anybody watched, even you probably only had to watch 2 quarters of football, and it probably turns you off. If you felt like, well, maybe I missed something after I turned, you didn't. It was bad the entire way. It was just like some of Chicago's like they're tackling in moments early in that game, like guys that are actually that I think are good, like Brisker, Jalen Johnson. Oh my God, Jalen Johnson. I don't know if he's just completely done with the season because he didn't get traded or what, but good Lord, the amount of blanks that defense at times gave, even though they didn't give up an actual offensive touchdown. Jeez. I did say this yesterday, though. I said Al would be on a different level of pissed off during that broadcast. He did fine. And I think a lot of it had to do with Jason Kelsey. I think Jason Kelsey coming in the booth yesterday for almost for like a 5-minute, 6-minute stretch, I think reinvigorated Al and Herbie. So I think Al was actually in a much better mood during that game than I thought he would be.
Al and Jason next year.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm in an okay mood I'm in a better mood because they now have increased their chance to get the overall number 1 pick.
There we go.
But the fact that they got to 3 wins, I could care less. I mean, cool. You're not as bad as Carolina. Awesome. I'm watching and I'm like, God, why do I root for this team?
Just be glad that Bryce Young, you don't have that on your. You have Justin Fields, but you do not have Bryce Young.
Yeah, that is true. That is very, very true. We're going to come back. We're going to get into some more Nebraska hoops conversation, too, as they defeated Florida A&M last night. And again, some of the takeaways from that one, also get a little update there on how the Omaha men's team looked as well. We got some college basketball, but also a college basketball get set up for tomorrow night, but also more on the Nebraska-Maryland game. We got Gary for about another hour before we get with our guests, Brett Cianci at 7:30. So we're going to have, Gary's going to break every part of tomorrow's game down and how Nebraska is going to get bowl eligible, because it needs to happen, folks. Absolutely. Our guest and our lineup always brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. You can hit us up on the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. And you can email me, Handley at 1620thezone.com, and Gary at 1620thezone.com. Also the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed where you can get at me. It is, what is it? Oh, yeah. It's at Nick Handley 1620 and at Gary Sharp 1620. It's always better when you do yours and then you open. Yeah. This is different. You can also hit up Jimmy at 1620thezone.com. All right. So the big question is for Saturday is not if Nebraska can win, but how will that look? And Gary gave you a good blueprint there. There's another area that I'm really curious. And Matt Rule said something yesterday that I thought was interesting in a very key element of the game. And we will get to that and much more as we get things rolling here on a Friday. It is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Now live on Twitch, YouTube, and 1620thezone.com.
Hi, everybody. Kent Pavelka here with why I chose Everlevel Concrete Repair for my driveway. They do it all. They fix cracks, lift sunken slabs, protect the finished product from deterioration, and all at a fraction of the price of replacement. It's not a Band-Aid like other repair methods. Everlevel's products are designed to last, which is why they've been voted Best of Omaha again this year. Better yet, it all comes with a transferable warranty. Protect your concrete before winter. Call Everlevel today for your free inspection. Everlevel. They make your driveway Everlevel. Level up.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is two $25 vouchers for just $25 to 72 Table and Tap. Try one of the 20 beers on tap or any of the 150 whiskeys. They also serve salads, tasty bar food, flatbreads, pizzas, sandwiches, and desserts. 72 Table and Tap. Eat, drink, gather, and repeat.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
Duck Defense Midwest makes your home healthier and improves the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com for a special duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. That's cleanairradio.com.
Giving Tuesday is the biggest local giving day of the year. On November 28th, let's celebrate what the Metro can do together in just 24 hours. Donate to your choice of local nonprofits on Giving Tuesday at ShareOmaha.org. During this season of giving, it's easy and fun to donate to causes you care about in just a few clicks. Support animals, children, veterans, the environment, and more. Join Share Omaha on November 28th and be a part of Hearts and Hands giving to hundreds of local nonprofits strengthening our neighborhoods. Giving Tuesday is the day to be counted among those who are doing what's needed in our community. Now's the time to give all we can. Giving Tuesday 402 is powered by Share Omaha. Give local on November 28th at shareomaha.org. Simply go to shareomaha.org to give to the nonprofits of your choice. All in one stop on Giving Tuesday and every day.
42 Degrees, with locations in Omaha, Council Bluffs, and Lincoln, has become a year-round corporate sponsor of the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry. What began as a 5-day food drive 2 years ago has turned into a 365-day commitment by 42 Degrees to support the overwhelming needs of veterans in our community. 42 Degrees customers have contributed thousands of dollars in food and hygiene donations, and 42 Degrees gave the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry a $2,500 check last November. 42 Degrees has food bins ready year-round to receive canned, dry food, and hygiene donations for the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry. During the year, 42 Degrees will have special sales with the proceeds going to the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry. The Omaha Veterans Food Pantry serves veterans who are low income, near homeless, or homeless who are not living in a shelter. 42 Degrees is proud to support the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry, and thanks to their customers in the community for their continued support and patronage.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
Does great pay, fully funded medical benefits, and a solid retirement sound good to you? IBEW has immediate openings for electricians. Invest in yourself with IBEW Local 22. Call 402-810-0789 or visit IBEW22.org today.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Kugler Vision. Football season has arrived. You'll be going to games and maybe you have seats high up. Well, go to Kugler Vision and make sure that you can see all of the action on the football field. Low monthly payment plans are available, and Kugler Vision gladly accepts your flex plans and medical spending accounts too. Give them a call at 402-558-2211 or schedule online at KuglerVision.com.
Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley here on a Friday football fiesta, Nebraska, Maryland tomorrow. Gary's out in Texas right now. He's going to try to attend the Texas TCU game, which you're right. Good call on that. The line actually went up to 12.5.
Yeah.
So, points for Quinn Ewers.
People here miss Max Duggan. They love Max Duggan and his family. They don't like the current part of TCU football.
There's not a lot to like right now either. I totally get that. Matt Rule spoke yesterday and did bring up, and the question was asked about the punt return. Billy Kemp is getting better, but didn't get necessarily a ringing endorsement that he would be 100%, to the point that if he is out on the field, that you would be confident that he would do anything more than a fair catch. Matt Rule did bring up Ethan Nation, but also brought up Emmett Johnson, who has been working in the punt return game. There are things that we feel, again, expectation-wise, I think the defense plays better, but I also think the punt return game will at least have a green light. And Connor and I were talking about this yesterday, Sharpie. It probably doesn't get discussed enough of how sort of bizarre that strategy was in the second half. In the first half, and I know you and I talked about it too, it probably made sense if you're in a game where you just do not want to give a struggling Michigan State team any extra opportunities. But then in the second half, where you look at special teams as, okay, now it's at a point where maybe special teams needs to make us a play, like how it sparked us against Purdue as well. And you continued to have the fair catch all the way up until the very last punt, and it was probably too little too late when they put Ethan Nation out there. I think it is very interesting to see that. I mean, good to hear Billy Kemp is getting better, and we kind of expected that, but not one but two other options between either Ethan Nation or Emmett Johnson. I'm not trying to put too much on the special teams element of this game, but as we know, when the margin for error is so small and so razor thin for Nebraska, that phase has to at least give you something. That was, I think, somewhat encouraging to know that there are options and there are guys that you maybe see two different guys trying to return a punt tomorrow, and guys that would do more than just wave their hand up in the air before the ball actually gets to them. I think that's something to kind of keep an eye on tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think you can go through the whole week of what happened against Michigan State and talk about it and not do something different. I'll be very curious with the whole operation tomorrow. Is, I wonder if Rule and Satterfield look at the Nebraska offense the same way on how to uncork it or what to do with it. Like, does one want to be aggressive and the other wants to be smart and play to their strengths? And so there's an internal battle, or is there just, I thought on the punt return game last week, Nebraska was smart and safe early with that philosophy, but then they were too late being aggressive. Does Nebraska as a whole tomorrow try and flip that, where you're back at home and you become aggressive early on both sides of the ball, whether you heat up with blitzes whether you try and catch Maryland, who likes to blitz, just like Purdue and Michigan State did. If you try and catch them where your numbers are a lot better when they're sending plus pressure, like how will Nebraska operate this game? Or will Nebraska try and play safe the whole time? I think a smart, boring game works tomorrow. But in that aspect, in punt return, because we've all asked about it, and Matt Rule has tried to come up with a plan, does Nebraska try and break something early in that? Because they definitely need some help, non-offense, to generate some field position and possibly a score. And maybe it is in the punt return game. But again, credit to him. He owned his mistake, and it was a significant one. And now they're trying to look for a solution, or at least something to put in the mind of Maryland on what they might do different from what they've seen on tape, either last Saturday or really the whole season, when it's been, and your longest punt return is 8 yards.
Yeah, and you get the feeling that it's got to be something for him. I'm not trying to say it's got to be like the ultimate difference if Nebraska wins tomorrow, but it's got to have its place. It's got to have something where either it's Brian Buschini again, and we talk about the punt return game, but Brian Buschini had an awful game, just a terrible game. So if we're watching Nebraska try to use special teams to its advantage, maybe it is a Brian Buschini solid day at the office where he's able to flip the field. He's able to get the defense in a position where they've got Maryland inside their own 10. And then all of a sudden you get a 3 and out, and then Nebraska has good field position. We've seen that happen a few times throughout the season when Nebraska especially has been at home. The other thing that I'm also curious about, and I think this goes back to what Nebraska, kind of to your earlier assessment of, does one want to be explosive like Marcus Satterfield? Does he want to be more aggressive? Does he want to take some shots? And we know that in the passing game, sometimes he wants to see Heinrich Haarberg take some shots downfield. Matt Rule wants to be physical, wants to kind of lean on the offensive line in the running game. I think you mentioned this on Monday, and kind of going back and watching the game too, some of the different looks that they were trying to do in the running game. And just, you saw, especially on the left side, I watched this again, Gary. The left side, I thought, did a pretty good job when it came to run blocking. Your biggest plays in the running game, not including Heinrich Haarberg's scrambles, when Emmett Johnson and Anthony Grant, and even I think Josh Fleeks had a decent gain, all, if I'm not mistaken, happened on the left side. Now, you did get a little bit of pulling with Nuri Nwili coming out, and there was one where I thought he didn't play great, but he had a real good block on a counter once too. But on the left side, they were doing some really good things. I'm curious. Again, we've talked about it all week about the running back rotation, but if you are going to get into a game where you want to push early in that running game, is that actually starting to? We talk about lathering up the running backs. Are we starting to see maybe the left side of this offensive line maybe get lathered up a little bit, and Teddy Prohaska and getting the chance to see Justin Evans Jenkins? Are those guys starting to kind of get a little bit into that rhythm where this could actually be some more big plays from that standpoint, whether we're talking stretch plays, inside counters, stuff like that, things that actually did at times work, which was sort of more maddening that you had 2 successful running plays early in the game and then immediately you go to the air. I wonder if they're in that situation tomorrow, if it is kind of, to your point, boring, where it's 3rd and 4, you're not even tempted to throw the football. You are going back to the ground because you feel you have something going on there. Or even a 3rd and 3 where we saw Nebraska go to the air a couple of times as well. That's what I'm really curious about, because when I watched that game a little bit more, the offensive line, especially on the left side, they were clearing some guys out. They were making some good contact there at the initial point of contact where they were opening up some holes.
Yeah, I think Emmett Johnson will carry the football, and they will try and hammer the interior. Maryland's not bad at stopping the run. They're about middle of the pack in the Big Ten. They give up less than 4 yards. So it's nice to get to the outside and establish the edge, but a lot of things have to fall in line. You got to be better at your tight ends blocking, your wide receivers downfield blocking. If somebody guy is pulling, they need to find the right guy. You got to put a hat on hat. But I think they'll try and go between the tackles to try and establish something there. But again, like you alluded to, Nick, and we talked about earlier in the week, Satterfield does dial up. He has some interesting run design. But I think at the end of the day, they would like to be straight quarterback handoff and be able to establish between the tackles that they can push people, and they have a running back that can run interior, inside zone even, and get 4, 5, 6 yards, and possibly that breaks for another one. I mean, they're not gonna all of a sudden become Air Nebraska tomorrow. I think they will have a concerted effort on running the ball. The biggest question everybody will have about running the game is how much of the quarterback is involved in the run game tomorrow. Is how many quarterback run designs will be called for Harburg? Because even those, he doesn't look as comfortable as he did. Again, the hits are piling up. He's starting to think way too much. He's got, oh God, oh God, oh God, don't turn the football over. So what do they design for him that is basically a safe play where he doesn't have to think very much? He just has to use his body and his athleticism. Going back to that Northern Illinois, Louisiana Tech, where he was just out there balling. They didn't give him a full array of, okay, you got to look at this. Now you got to key on the defensive end. And if you see that cornerback coming up, this is what you do on the pitch play. They just basically said, hey, go out there and play. All right, just go out there and do a little playground, and you do what you do best. And if you need to keep the football, just run people over and run as fast as you can. Tomorrow, just simple and boring tomorrow works for me against Maryland.
Yeah, and I think if I go back to that game too, I remember the Northern Illinois game where there was a little bit more of like kind of the quarterback follow, or we call it the quarterback counter play, where you're basically becoming the eye back, you're delaying, and then all of a sudden you've got either a blocker, or even sometimes when you had two backs in the backfield, you have two blockers in front of you where you're almost following them, where, yeah, it is a straight run, but you've got guys where you can kind of pick your spots and go. We saw a little bit of the zone read element of that. And I brought this up earlier in the week that I think is going to be interesting to watch is we know that the quantity of runs that Heinrich Harburg has put out there is probably putting his body more at risk. But can we just get to a moment where it's quality, where you're sucking the defense in, you're giving, and all of a sudden you're pulling it and you're attacking the edge. And this is, again, where I don't think you have to do too much hesitation. You just know that that's caving in on the running back, and then you've got an edge where you can attack that. And that's where Heinrich Harburg is dangerous. And also, let's not forget, he also has the safety of the sideline too when he's attacking that area where he can bail out and not necessarily have to absorb a hit. I like that part of it as well. Yeah. The thing, and this is where I'm really fascinated on, because kind of like last week, how awful Michigan State was defending the pass. This is the weakness for Maryland as well, especially in the intermediate passing game, where we know Nebraska going beyond 15 yards is not good. In the intermediate passing game, knowing that Maryland has struggled with that, and what you'll see is a lot of soft zone coverage. How does that play into what Nebraska wants to do when they do have to throw the football? Because, again, this goes back to where I don't put the onus on Marcus Satterfield. I think there have been good designs when it does come to that. Is Heinrich Harburg, whether it's playing at home, whether it's just, again, part of the learning process, can he take advantage of what I think will be some design pass plays in the intermediate passing game where there will be two guys at least that will be there, that will be open? Can he find those windows?
Yep, that's the story. Is can he be efficient? 20 plus yards. He was 0 for 5 against Michigan State. I mean, they have to play to his strengths, and right now, that's tough to find from series to series. I run the football tomorrow. Tomorrow is a run the football day. RTB, run the damn ball. That hat should be very, very popular. Line up in the I formation. They're comfortable lining up in the I formation, and run the ball until Maryland says, "Not today, my friend. We're going to force you to do something else." Don't overthink it on offense, because you got a quarterback that's overthinking things. But I'm with you. Tight end. I mean, where's Nate Borkature?
Right.
Where did he go? Where did he go?
Actually, where did he go? Really last week, but he needs to be an actual pass catcher too.
He's a good blocker, but there needs to be a football in his hands. But you also have to find him when he's open to put the football in his hands, because Nate Borkature essentially has disappeared for the last couple of weeks. And in this offense, and he's too good of a player, that can't happen. 87 has to be a target. I mean, Alex Bullock cannot have 9 targets tomorrow and Nebraska to have a way to win this game. That's just my opinion.
And before we hit a break too, I listening to him talk and watching him over the last couple of weeks, and especially I know a lot of people have made it about his blocking too. Malachi Coleman starting to kind of come into his own. When I think of the trio of freshman wide receivers, it's more exciting to kind of think about that group together, having experienced what they are now, going, beyond this year. But I still get the feeling that amongst that 3, someone might have to make a big play. And even if that is in the intermediate passing game where they got some space and they're able to turn on burners, I'm not trying to say pick to click tomorrow, but big play that is made, I might lean more towards the passing game than the running game because we know this offense needs big plays. This is where I kind of go back to those designs that we've seen Satterfield come up with in the intermediate passing game where Heinrich Harburg, for the most part, has not been able to take advantage of. But when he does, you're starting to see those guys run routes with a lot more confidence too. I'll be curious to see if there is a big play to be had, and it involves one of those 3, either Jaden Doss, Jalen Lloyd, or Malachi Coleman. Because, I mean, hey, if you can get something out of this offense that ignites them, that loosens things up, and more importantly, puts Maryland on the ropes right there early on, it could be a fun day in Lincoln. It's a big if, but that's one of those things in the passing game that I almost kind of shudder to even think about putting that kind of onus on that part of the offense. But I think it could be there tomorrow. I really do.
Yeah. Who wins this football game if Maryland turns Nebraska into a one-dimensional team that's got to run the football or has to throw the football? And if Maryland, which is they're a bottom 25 run offense, they only run for 117 yards per game. If Nebraska is better on the back end and they are not allowing Maryland to chuck it around the yard, and they're going to face, this will be the third base quarterback that Nebraska's faced. Now, the previous 2, they picked apart Nebraska, J.J. McCarthy and Shadur Sanders. If Nebraska makes Maryland one-dimensional and Maryland has to run the football, I mean, whose chances do you like more? Maryland running the football or Nebraska passing the football, if that's what it comes to tomorrow?
Now like a 6-4 game.
I might need a cigarette to think about that one for a moment. When we do come back, we'll get an update with Jimmy, some more thoughts with Gary while we have him here. Also, Brett Ciancia in hour number 2 and Lee Sterling all coming your way here as we continue. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a bit of a delay from 149th to 144th on Industrial Road. One center, it looks like there's going to be some minor slowdowns from 192nd all the way to 168th. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
What does Saul's Loan on? Almost everything, like jewelry, gold chains, bracelets, earrings, wedding rings, and high-end watches, guns, electronics, $10 to $50,000, super fast and easy with no credit check. Saul's Loans on almost everything.
J-Tech Construction reminds you that this time of year, your home's energy efficiency is under tension. Don't let your windows cost you by raising your energy bills this winter. J-Tech Construction will come out and provide you with a free estimate on upgrading your windows and keeping your energy costs down. They have custom-made, energy-efficient windows that keep the outside out with the professional installation you would expect. Contact the official exterior and solar experts of the Huskers. J-Tech Construction, your exteriorexperts.com.
Standard Heating and Air Conditioning is and has always been locally owned and operated. Now, with 160 employee owners, chances are one of us lives in your neighborhood. We take pride in taking care of you, our customers, and keeping you comfortable all year round. And as always, our technicians don't have sales quotas. When other companies send salespeople, Standard sends qualified technicians. It's just part of
Carrier, turn to the experts.
Each home game Friday, Hy-Vee hosts the Big Red Breakfast Buffet on 1620 The Zone. Join the unauthorized Big Red Breakfast Show live from 6 to 10 with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley, and enjoy breakfast from Hy-Vee Market Grill, featuring all your favorite breakfast food. This buffet is sure to make your day. $12 or all you can eat for only $15. They include scrambled eggs, party potatoes, bacon, sausage, biscuits and gravy, and assorted pastries. It's the unauthorized at Hy-Vee days on Zone.
On the inbox with whatever's on your mind. Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. You can get me, Gary, at 1620thezone.com. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone Inbox. Husker fans, are you ready to score big savings on your tickets this season? When you need to find seats at Memorial Stadium, be sure to shop the best selection without the added fees at ticketsforless.com. That's right, Tickets for Less offers transparent pricing, meaning you never pay crazy high fees at checkout. Plus, save even more when you use promo code THEZONE at checkout today at ticketsforless.com. Every seat holds a story. Find yours at ticketsforless.com. Don't forget, Tickets for Less for the best concerts and events, and save now with the code THEZONE.
Hey everyone, Josh and John here for the FanDuel Sportsbook, where right now new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. John, that means $150 if your team wins in those bonus bets. And the money line means you're picking the winner. Find a team that you like this weekend in the NFL, maybe Cincinnati hosting Houston. Put that money line wager down and take advantage of this great deal today.
And this app is so easy to use. Not only can you bet the spreads and the money lines and the totals, but there's also exciting player props, and look for some of the creative ways that FanDuel builds in some of these props. It could really pay out big. So again, for $150 in bonus bets by winning a money line bet, do it right now by going to FanDuel.com/1620. 21 plus in present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued with non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Giving Tuesday is the biggest local giving day of the year. On November 28th, let's celebrate what the Metro can do together in just 24 hours. Donate to your choice of local nonprofits on Giving Tuesday at shareomaha.org. During this season of giving, it's easy and fun to donate to causes you care about in just a few clicks. Support animals, children, veterans, the environment, and more. Join Share Omaha on November 28th and be a part of Hearts and Hands giving to hundreds of local nonprofits strengthening our neighborhoods. Giving Tuesday is the day to be counted among those who are doing what's needed in our community. Now's the time to give all we can. Giving Tuesday 402 is powered by Share Omaha. Give local on November 28th at shareomaha.org. Simply go to shareomaha.org to give to the nonprofits of your choice. All in one stop on Giving Tuesday and every day.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620, The Zone.
High school football semifinals tonight on a chilly evening across the area, but it could be a lot worse. Could be much colder this time of the year. In Class A, Millard West is at West Side. Elkhorn South is at Millard South. And in Class B, Elkhorn North is at Bennington, 10-1 against 11-0 there. Scott and Waverly square off in Waverly, also 10-1 versus 11-0. The Vikings are 0-5 in playoff games against Scott, and they haven't been past the semifinals since winning Class B in 1980. Do with that what you will. Clear skies, light winds, low 40s at kickoff, falling into the upper 30s by game's end. Nebraska ball starts slow but gets going and beats Florida A&M last night at PBA. Eli Rice scores 16 as the Huskers out-rebound the Rattlers 55-35. The next host the Cornhusker Classic beginning Monday night. Creighton women's basketball later this morning against South Dakota at Sokol. Tip-off just after 11:30 a.m. The men welcome the Bison of North Dakota State to the Chi tomorrow at 1. We'll get you started with shoot-around at 11. John at 12:30. Don't forget, because of this, Big Red Overreaction airs on 1290 Coil following Nebraska and Turtle. Omaha men's basketball falls at TCU last night 82-60. Frankie Fiddler scores 20, shooting 7 for 15. including 3 for 6 from deep to become the first Maverick this season to reach the 20-point mark. He also led the team with 7 rebounds. Their Texas two-step continues in Denton tomorrow night at 7 o'clock against the Mean Green of North Texas. The Maverick women are at Northwestern for a 2 o'clock game on Sunday. Omaha Volleyball takes on South Dakota State tomorrow at noon at Baxter. It's the final match of the regular season. The Mavs are 12-13 on the season, 11-3 in conference play, while they remain in first place in the standings for the time being. Even with a win versus South Dakota State on Saturday, they will not know if they can claim the regular season title until the rest of the teams finish their matches next week. Other stuff. Omaha Hockey wraps up their 8-game homestand this weekend when they welcome the Long Island Sharks. I assume they're humans, Nick, and not actual sharks.
That's true. The
Although
scouting report indicated as
excited
such.
if it was sharks.
Yeah.
Anyway,
big Shark Week.
7:07 tonight and tomorrow. Omaha men's soccer squared off with Oral Roberts for the second time in 6 days. They come away winners 1-0 in the Summit League semis. They now face 4th-seeded UMKC in Saturday's championship match at 2 o'clock. Finally, Giannis Antetokounmpo scores an NBA season-high 54 points, but committed 2 turnovers after Tyrese Halliburton's go-ahead three-pointer with 1:29 left. The Pacers beat the Bucks 126-124 last night. Halliburton, former Cyclone, had 29 points, 10 assists. Benedict Mathurin added 26 points and 11 rebounds for the Pacers, who blew an 18-point lead, then had to rally from 10 down in the fourth. Giannis finished 1 point shy of his career high, but threw away a pass with 1:03 left and was then stripped with 30 seconds to go, both with the Bucks trailing 122-121. He was 19 of 25 from the field, 16 of 18 from the foul line. It's a big deal for Giannis, and 12 rebounds. He also had 8 turnovers. And congratulations to new Bucks coach and former Dallas Maverick Adrian Griffin as he earns his first ejection as coach. He's tossed with 7:52 remaining in the third quarter, the first of many, I assume.
Awesome stuff there, Jimmy. By the way, I want to make sure we do mention this with so many tributes this weekend with Veterans Day. Nebraska's going to have some really cool stuff going on at Memorial Stadium tomorrow. In fact, you heard about being able to honor a veteran with a brand new motorcycle. That was cool. You mentioned Omaha Hockey this weekend. They're having an entire military appreciation weekend as well. Big shout out. And I know TC, Fremont Fred, we've got a lot of listeners that served in the Marine Corps. It is the Marine Corps' 248th birthday today. So again, for all of you that have served, but especially on this very day for all of our active members of the Marine Corps and beyond, and all the veterans in the Marine Corps, that is, I know, a very, very special day, and we salute you and thank you. Yes.
Get some cake.
I think some of the best advice I was ever given growing up in my years was don't mess with a Marine.
Yeah, don't piss them off.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, yes, big
And if you're in your
weekend.
corner,
Exactly. I think TC and Fremont Fred, they got our back, right? Yeah.
but TC was going to be at Hy-Vee this morning for us.
That's right.
And he may still be there for breakfast with the other veterans.
And yes, that's awesome what Hy-Vee's doing too. And again, why we will be back on the before the Black Friday game.
It's also pretty cool that a lot of schools bring in veterans to tell stories. I mean, I think all of us have somebody in our family, maybe our parents served or our grandparents, an aunt and uncle served in the military. But it shouldn't just be one day, but I do love that schools go out of their way to bring veterans in to tell the story of their service and what it was like and add to the history book, but with something in person. So I saw a few pictures of friends of mine that their kids in elementary school were visited by veterans, either currently serving or just recently out of the military or from, Vietnam War. And they're telling their stories to these kids, and what a great in-person learning experience. So again, thank you to all the veterans out there and the men and women that are currently actively serving. I do want to mention one thing from last night on a transition here from how important tomorrow is with Veterans Day and most people celebrating it today. Do we need to have a conversation about Jeff Brom and where he ranks among college football coaches? Do you guys know that? And thankfully last night the NFL game was, but college football, and that game could have been a clunker too because Virginia's in a bad spot and they're playing Louisville, and they delivered last night. So look at that. We had the ability to have a good Thursday night college football game, going up against the NFL. But do we need to have a conversation that, dang, Jeff Brom, he's a damn good football coach, because I don't know of any coaches that have a chance to go to back-to-back championship games in two different conferences.
They're 9-1 and 6-1 in the ACC.
Yeah, that's
Very
it.
quietly. Nobody really knows.
People forget, that he actually did get. I mean, it was kind of by default with everything that happened that final week. But yeah, that Purdue team was playing in the Big Ten championship game, and then now he's got Louisville right on track right there too. That's I'm trying to think if that has happened in back-to-back.
I mean, Cincinnati has got to be elated that Scott Satterfield left to go to Cincinnati, and that opened the door to bring their guy back home.
Yep.
Because Louisville is fun to watch. It's kind of been like a sleeping giant. You know, you saw it with Lamar Jackson. They want to be a football school. They put a lot of money into football. They got a really nice stadium.
Yep.
Louisville, Kentucky, in that area does produce some pretty good players, especially for the ACC. Man, Jeff Brom maybe just be building a big, huge football program. Dad, that dude can coach, man. Last year, Purdue got to the championship game. We saw what he did at Purdue, where he could recruit. Now, they weren't able to always win 8-9 games, but he got some NFL dudes. I mean, Rondale Moore, Bell, Karlaftis. And now look what he's doing at Louisville. They're 9-1, as Jimmy just mentioned. And Satterfield left, Brom came home, and they're probably going to the ACC championship game.
Yeah, and also a note on that game too.
Not very good
For what was an exciting, come from behind victory with two big plays to get Louisville to win. But the scoop and score, obviously that was a very scary moment for Virginia running back Paris Jones. Good news from that front. If you're a Virginia football fan or just a fan of just human beings being able to persevere, Paris Jones was moving all of his extremities after being taken to the hospital after that helmet-to-helmet hit where he fumbled the ball. And then, obviously Louisville scored off of that. But that was a really, really scary moment. And again, it's just anytime that happens in this sport, you're always thinking about, everybody involved there. But the bigger deal, too, with Virginia and what they've endured in the last year, that 1-year anniversary of that awful shooting is on Monday. And so, and I know Paris Jones was his roommate. I believe his roommate from last year was one of the victims in that too. So just, an awful situation, but glad to hear that he was moving all of his extremities and everything is good on that front, because it was very scary last night when that did happen. So that was good to see.
Hey, do you want to mention
Louisville is, and Jeff Brom too. Real quickly on Jeff Brom though. Wasn't it kind of interesting with his kind of stock, like right when he got to Purdue, and you had David Blau, you had Rondale, and they had that offense really clicking. There was a moment where I don't want to say he was on the hot seat, but people wondered if there was sort of a flash in the pan type feel of Jeff Brom of, oh, that was good, but now it's starting to fall off a little bit. You kind of think of the way that he bookended his time at Purdue, though. They started out on fire with what he was able to implement, and then the way that he kind of left Purdue. I think he was able to kind of turn that around. Now, Louisville was, I think, always going to be interested in him no matter what, but there was that time sort of in the middle of his window at Purdue where I do think there were some people wondering, okay, is this going to work with Jeff Brom? And I think more than anything, that's sort of a Purdue thing, where Purdue football is in the Big Ten now compared to where they were, way back when they were a lot more consistent, churning out NFL quarterbacks, Tiller and that whole, regime. But it was interesting because now I think you're going to look at Jeff Brom now at a different school and put him in such the rarest of company when it comes to what he's accomplishing. I mean, I think at the end of the day, the dude can just flat out coach. He's a damn good coach.
Yeah, he's going to go to the ACC title game in his first year with Jack Plummer as his quarterback. I mean,
saying something.
He's moving up in the ranks of really good football coaches. Purdue to the Big Ten championship game. He goes to Louisville. They're going to go to the ACC championship game. The man can coach football, and he's overhauled the Louisville program. And while doing that, has gotten them on the cusp of a double-digit win season. Yep. I mean, and then they had to come from behind last night. They had they were on the verge of like a major upset. But Jeff Brom is a tremendous coach who we respected him around here because we saw the talent he had at Purdue, and he owned Nebraska. I mean, if you were comparing Frost and Braum, you thought, oh, Frost will be the wonder kid with the offensive mindset. Braum knows offense, but they switched roles while they were in the Big Ten, and now Jeff Brom's gone back home to a place where it seemed like it was destiny was always going to go to, and they're going to go to the ACC championship game. Man, I'm a huge fan, and his recruiting prowess, he's going to be fine. His biggest problem at Purdue was, remember he had such a rotation of defensive coordinators, he couldn't figure out his defensive staff, but they always had dudes. And they finally put it together last year, and with Aiden O'Connell and Maccabee running the football. But I'm a huge Jeff Brom fan, a huge fan. Hey, I do want to mention. So Jimmy alluded to tonight's high school football semifinals, and we also want to tell everybody that we will carry here on the Zone coming up on the Monday and Tuesday night, a week from this upcoming Monday and Tuesday. We will carry the Class B and Class A finals. We'll have the play-by-play coverage of both of those classes right here on the Zone. Council Bluffs Lewis Central, which is Justin Camrad, has an absolute wagon going over at LC. They won last night in the Dome over in Cedar Falls. They beat North Polk. And so now they are, for the third straight year, going after a state title. And they've had to navigate. They've had some injuries. It seems like they have a different person that is leading them and rushing every game. I mean, that's a really, really good football program that is coached by a really, really good coach who I'm sure draws a lot of attention from programs around the Omaha Metro that would like to hire a coach. But good luck to LC, man. They are rolling, and maybe this is the year that they break through over in the Unidome next week.
Hey, speaking of high school state football, we know the matchups tonight. I think the probably more intriguing one is Millard South, Elkhorn South, given what happened in week 2, but also what Elkhorn South didn't have at their disposal. And I know, Millard South, even getting Noah Feller back has been big for them. Yeah. You mentioned Millard West throughout the playoffs. I get it. West Side, we know what West Side is. Would it shock you if Millard West is still competitive in the second half of this game?
It would not shock me, but what happens with Westside is they shock you early.
Yeah.
And if you turn the ball over, they're going to put it in the end zone.
Right.
I don't know. This Millard West is well coached. I mean, they're talented. I got a good quarterback. We talked about Jackson Williams. Bobby Joseph at running back probably doesn't get enough attention. They're just a sound football team. Can they keep up? See, I think you have to, when you play Westside, outside of Millard South, which was able to slow Westside momentarily down. Westside ended up scoring 31 in that game. I think you have to go into the mindset against Westside of, okay, we know we're going to have to score, but defensively, are we good enough to hold Westside to 4 touchdowns?
Right. Yeah.
Because they can, at the blink of an eye, Westside puts up, they're up 35. They put 35 on you. I mean, they shut out Bellevue West last week.
Right.
I don't recall an Elite 11 quarterback ever being shut out. And Bellevue West had their chances early to score, and they couldn't do it. I mean, good teams turn around and boom, they knock you out. And you can't even attempt to do that against Westside, because once you give Westside an opening, that ball is in the end zone, and then they turn around, they take it right back. So you miss any opportunities, just like Omaha North missed some opportunities against Millard South. Millard South made them pay and blew them out. I don't know. They'll compete, but man, Westside is on a whole different level.
Yeah.
Just they're a different. They're built differently, and the thing about Westside is they're not satisfied. That's the scariest thing to Class A, is that a team that could be very happy and they just go out and play, and we got better players than you. Man, they're not satisfied. So there's always that drive to get better, and that's scary if you are Millard West tonight or Millard South or Elkhorn South. That's going to have to face them a week from Tuesday for the state championship.
Yeah, I get the feeling that the Millard South game that they played, Westside played, actually was, it almost served the same as if, when most teams lose, you get sort of that little, come back down moment of, okay, hey, all right, let's get serious now for a moment. The Elkhorn, and we talked to Guy Rosenberg yesterday, the Elkhorn South, Millard South matchup. And I know for people who cover high school football were shocked of that result in week 2. of Elkhorn South getting blanked by Millard South. Now, again, there were injuries that took place. Things have looked different, and really for both teams. But it was sort of interesting talking to Coach Rosenberg yesterday about how they've kind of gone about that. I would think that they're just chomping at the bit to get back out at Millard South, knowing that that's probably not who they are. They didn't show what this Elkhorn South football program is all about in that week 2 game. It probably feels like forever ago for a lot of those guys. I was really impressed, and maybe I shouldn't because Guy Rosenberg just has that reputation, but I was really impressed with the way that he, seems to think that these guys are taking this matchup and their preparation for this matchup. There's a quiet confidence there. I think they feel like they're in a good position to, again, make this thing competitive. But I mean, Millard South, the way that they're playing too, especially since that West Side game where I think all of a sudden that's a team that people were wondering, okay, how good are they really? And they competed with West Side. And since then, you've seen them shut teams out. You've seen them get more healthy too. That has a chance to be, I think, a really fun game tonight between Elkhorn South and Millard South.
Yeah, Elkhorn South is well coached. They'll do some things differently in that game. But is that a game that is going to be – can Elkhorn South win a game that's 35-28? Or is the only way they can win is, 21-17, those type of games. They're well coached on defense. They'll have a few wrinkles. That'll be a game of adjustments to see what Millard South sees early on that was different, because that was a long time ago. And the personnel has changed, and Elkhorn South has a completely different quarterback. But I would not be surprised if we wake up tomorrow and it's a rematch in the state final between Millard South and West Side.
Real quickly, before we get to Brett Cianci, I want to go to the 42-degree hotline and welcome in. Dean wanted to talk about that Lewis Central team. What's up, Dean?
Hey, guys. Great show.
Thanks.
Yeah, Gary kind of stole my thunder there. I sent him an email. He read it too quick. But last night, man, they were absolutely dominating against the really supposedly number one defense in the state. We just 31-5. I mean, it wasn't even close. And I mean, this team is rolling. Gary mentioned our top 3 running backs, all ACL injuries. We're with a he's not 4th string. He was our starting running back, broke his arm. Now he's back, but running a freshman. It's just amazing what Camrad's done over here.
Yeah, they keep reloading, man. They got Division I talent. They're a well-coached football team. And I will tell you the one thing that I'm always impressed. You talk about the top 3 running backs going down with injuries, and it's just like the next man up is they have so much depth. It's from top to bottom, from freshmen to seniors. That's a really good football program that, it'd be nice, 3rd straight championship to break through. And that game against it's Western Dubuque, right? That they're playing next week.
Yeah.
I think that's who they are. Yeah.
We won our first state championship 2 years ago, got runner up last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're going for second straight, or second in 3 years. So, I mean, Camrad, like I said, Fred and his entire coaching staff, they got these kids to buy in that it's next man up mentality, and it's worked really well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Justin, his program, and one of his players, Curtis Whitty. I hope they break through Thursday night and win a state title.
Appreciate the call, Dean. Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Also, we get, and we'll talk to Vers later too. You've got Scott Waverly tonight. Those two teams haven't seen each other yet. Scott, though, 5-0 against Waverly in the playoffs? Is that right? They've had their number, so we'll see what happens there. So a lot of good.
So they're putting money on it. So
I still don't know if I can bring myself to throw down some shackles on high school football. This goes back to a long time ago when I was calling a state championship game, and a childhood friend of mine somehow got my phone number and asked me if Millard North Lane 9 against Creighton Prep was a good play, and I didn't know how to respond to that. I'm like, are you serious? This was like in 2004. So I'm like, huh? What am I getting myself into?
Yeah. So, hey, don't overlook, because they're meeting again, Bennington and Elkhorn North playing. So I don't believe, even though the wind always blows in, the wind always blows at Bennington. The wind really had a factor in that game that was played in the next to last regular season weekend. That will be a really, really good football game between Bennington and Elkhorn North to go to the state final. And you got West Side, which has become a familiar face down in Lincoln, and Bennington, which if they make it, they'll be going for their third straight. And they've won, I think tonight, if they win, it'll be 38, which would tie the state record. But Elkhorn North, they get another chance, and I don't think the win will be as much of a factor as it was in that first game. But Bennington's defense has been good from the jump. They finally found some offense, so it's going to be tough for Elkhorn North. But I think that's going to be the best game in the Metro tonight.
And again, as Gary mentioned, it's going to be awesome. You can hear the Class A and the Class B state championship game that Monday and Tuesday right here on 1620 The Zone. It's just going to be fantastic. We're going to talk some more college football. We're going to get some thoughts on the weekend slate. Also, your weekend's best plays. We got Brett Ciancia coming up, then Lee Sterling. Gary's going to jump back on here as we get through the show to give his final thoughts on what we can expect for tomorrow as we continue here. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, you can spend the weekend at Woodhouse Buick GMC. Well, not literally stay overnight, but 119th and I, climate-controlled indoor showroom. They have simply something for everyone. You're looking for that stylish SUV, that capable truck like the 23 GMC Sierra that gives you plenty of towing capacity, gives you infotainment, and the luxury of a pickup truck that doesn't feel like you're driving a truck. You can find it at a great deal right now. Save $6,000 off MSRP. See dealer for details. This deal expires at the end of the month, so you don't want to hesitate. You can find this deal and many more right now at 119th and I, Woodhouse Buick GMC. You're looking for newer pre-owned? You're looking for the vehicle that meets your needs? You can find it today with top-notch sales staff that they know their product and they'll go to work for you. You can also see all of the same inventory, new and pre-owned, online right now at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. They've streamlined the entire process. They make it easy on you. They know you don't have all day. They want to get you in a vehicle from Woodhouse Buick GMC and make you part of the Woodhouse Auto family. Purchase with confidence. And right now at 119th and I, Woodhouse Buick GMC, or online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
Time for your Grum Down. The Trev Troubles, the story that broke yesterday from the Flatwater Free Press.
Freaking bugs.
What? You just murdered it in cold blood. Anywho.
They're crawling everywhere, John. There's another one. The bugs.
Anyway, back to the Grum Down.
Yeah, the Grum Down. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from Canoyer Garden Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Cooling off as we wrap up the week Friday. Chilly to start with tons of sunshine throughout the morning, then a few more clouds moving in through the afternoon. Winds remain light most of the day with highs around 50. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Don't miss a moment this fall. Head over to KuglerVision.com right now. That's KuglerVision.com.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of a delay from 183rd to 168th on Center. Then along 204th, be prepared for a little bit of a slowdown from Harrison to Q Street. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
Sometimes life throws you a curveball and you need a solution fast. A solution to help you make payroll, to save your house, to keep growing, or fund a startup, to fix a roof or other major repair. Saul's is your fast, local, confidential solution. Get the cash you need today with Saul's.
The Chevy Silverado 1500 with Turbo Max 4-cylinder engine is changing the game in the world of full-size trucks. With 310 horsepower and over 400 pound-feet of torque, the Silverado with Turbo Max engine has up to 9,500 pounds of towing capability. Test the Turbo Max for yourself at Woodhouse Chevy. There's a huge selection of Silverados you can see at woodhouse.com. Find new roads in a Silverado with Turbo Max engine at Woodhouse Chevy. Exit 75 off I-29 Missouri Valley or 112th and Dodge in Omaha.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call on the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
I am obsessed with Ulta Beauty's early Black Friday sale because I can find up to 40% off my beauty favorites each week. Shop deals like Tarte Shape Tape Concealer at 30% off. I'll also be gifting myself. And $15 cleansers from brands like Tula and Philosophy. Plus, up to 40% off select hair tools like the Revlon One Step Blow Dryer. Find the gifts that bring joy to everyone on your list this holiday, especially the gift you give yourself. Hurry in store or place your online pickup order today. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful.
Hey everybody, it's Jimmy Allen and former Nebraska quarterback Adrian Martinez.
You know the After Hours Lounge is open from 6 to 8 p.m. when the sports schedule allows.
And guess what? I'm stopping by from time to time.
When Rob Love's off for the night, Adrian's going to stop by and talk all things Nebraska football, what he's been up to in the NFL, and you know we're going to still talk all things high school sports.
And who knows what we'll get into. Maybe you'll get to ask me some questions, so stop by from 6 to 8 p.m. and check out the show.
Brought to you by Bellevue University and Papillion Sanitation here on 1620 The Zone.
42 Degrees is proud to join our community in honoring those who served our country this Veterans Day. From now until November 19th, we're collecting cans of food, boxed food, non-perishables, and hygiene products for the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry, helping thousands of veterans in Nebraska and Iowa who are in need. Please bring to any of our Omaha or Lincoln locations. To all veterans, we say thank you for your service. Donate today at 42 Degrees. By your mom's house.
Car repair is car repair. Most places you go can change your oil or fix your brakes. The difference is the experience you'll get at Omaha Car Care. We're part of the community. We were born here, and we believe that our relationship with you should be built to last. We're going to consult you, not sell you. We're going to give you a free loaner car. We're going to treat you like a valued friend that we want to continue to see in the years to come. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
It is a Friday football fiesta here. Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone. Nick and Jimmy in studio. Gary is out in Fort Worth, Texas. He's going to jump back on before we say goodbye for the day to get some final thoughts on Nebraska and Maryland. As we do on every Friday at this time, welcome in our good friend Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews. Good morning, Brett. How are you today?
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. And so I want to do something refreshing today because all of the news around Michigan football, Brett, as you know, has been largely negative. How will the Big Ten come down on Michigan? What will Michigan do in the courts? When will the NCAA finally weigh in on this and all of that? I saw something that you put out a day ago about a very impressive statistic that Michigan currently is on pace for. And this also involves a very good, in fact, probably arguably the best Nebraska national champion that we've ever seen, the best Nebraska football team we've seen, at least in my lifetime. That was the 95 Huskers. I want you to throw this stat out because this is yours. And I saw this and I thought, wow, this is impressive. But I got to say, I'm surprised that only two teams since this Michigan team have accomplished this certain feat. So can you tell me about this?
Yeah, sure. So the Division One broke into FBS and FCS back in 1978 in their two classifications. So since 78, there's been about 6,000 FBS teams. Only two have gone the whole season undefeated and won all their games by 2 touchdowns or more, 14 plus every game.
Mm-hmm.
And that is 95 Nebraska. Of course, they had that one quote unquote close call with Wazoo. I think it was a 17-point margin, but that was the closest all year. So 95 Huskers, and then 2004 Utah, the Utes under Urban Meyer.
Yep.
They blew everybody out there, including Pitt in the Fiesta Bowl. So only 2 out of 6,000 have done that feat. And Michigan right now is the only contender in 2023. So 9 games in, they've blown everybody out. But it's important to note that their 2 hardest games are still coming up.
Right.
So to this point, they have that credential, but they're about to be tested big time by Penn State, Ohio State, and then a Big Ten title and a bowl game. So I doubt it holds up. I think it'll still be Nebraska and Utah, the 95 and 04 Utes.
And pulling that little factoid there too, were you surprised there was only 2 previous?
Yeah, I mean, you start whittling it through, and yeah, I mean, it's hard enough to go undefeated. That cuts the field down pretty close, and then usually a bowl game or a conference title game is close. And,
Yeah.
And you guys know college football. Usually, there's an October or November scare in there. So for someone to distance themselves every single week against all their opponents, and Nebraska's schedule that year, I mean, there wasn't like Utah, who was in the Mountain West. I mean, they were Big 8, and you had a lot of ranked teams there. I think Colorado, highly ranked in the top 5. Of course, they played Miami, or no, that was they played Florida down there. So yeah, a lot of tests. I was very impressed.
Brett, before we kind of get into this weekend slate too, I know we're inundated now the last couple of weeks with the college football playoff rankings. Nothing's really changed in the top 4. Maybe it's more interesting on what is on the outside of the top 4 right now, especially given this weekend slate. Are you who do you, maybe this is the better question. Who is the team that is probably worth paying attention to the closest right now that's on the outside of the top 4?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. You have a lot of one-loss contenders here, and I'm not really too worried about the college football playoff rankings because at each tier, it's basically going to work itself out. The undefeated, if you win out, you're in. There's enough head-to-heads there that if you go undefeated, you will be in the playoff. And then for the one-loss teams, the pecking order has already been pretty much established because you have the head-to-heads in there: Texas over Bama, Bama over Ole Miss, and you'll get even more with Michigan, Penn State coming. So I'm not too worried about it. I think a team to keep an eye on that no one's talking about, and it's a very boring radio answer, but look at Alabama.
Yeah.
They're sitting there with one loss. They're in the SEC, and you guys know the clout that holds. If they were to go win the West and win the SEC title over Georgia, they would have quite the resume. They'd have wins over a top 5 Georgia, a ranked LSU, a ranked Ole Miss, and just that close loss to Texas. So keep an eye on them as a team almost controlling their own destiny.
Well, and that's a good place to start. There's a lot of interesting games in the early slate. Alabama at Kentucky. I would have said maybe given the circumstances a month ago, I would think this is a little bit more intriguing of a game. I'm with you. I like what Alabama is doing. They've figured quarterback out. They've got their people. I know the number is 11. Do you worry about any type of slip up tomorrow out in Lexington?
Potentially. I mean, it is in Kentucky. On a neutral slate, my numbers would have it at Alabama by 10, and then you throw in some home field advantage there. I think it should be below that 11 line. Kentucky's playing strong the last couple of weeks. They're known for their big power rushing attack, and I don't know if they're dynamic enough against this Alabama team. You really have to have a perfect game, both throwing the ball, running the ball. You got to have a dual threat quarterback. If not a dual threat, you got to have a Quinn Ewers, who has one of the best arms in the country. So I don't think they have it. The only way that Bama trips up is if they have a little bit of a hangover after their big win over LSU a primetime rivalry game. But I think Alabama wins it.
We led off with Michigan. They're on the road. You mentioned their schedule. This is where the rubber meets the road. Penn State, we know James Franklin's record against top 10 teams. Michigan is a 4.5-point road favorite against Penn State, and kind of to that part of the 14 points or greater margin of victory. I like Michigan in this one, Brett. I'm curious if you do, but I'm also curious if you like them to keep that trend alive with the 2 scores, if you do like Michigan to win this one.
Well, I think the 2-score streak is going out the window. I think that's over with, regardless if they win or lose. I think it's going to be a tight game. There's something to be said about not being tested until November. Now, that's partially a compliment. I mean, they're so far ahead of their opponents so far that they haven't been challenged. But I'm talking about a top 10, top 15 type game. They haven't had anything like it. They haven't played a ranked team, not even a top 40 team yet. So there's something to be said about your first game against somebody like that, just the speed of the game, the adjustment to good athletes. And you see every team go through it. I mean, Ohio State's first half against Notre Dame, they were slow. I mean, Penn State against Ohio State, they came out slow. And I think it's just that this is Michigan's first test. Penn State's been through the ringer so far. They're at home. I know I wish this was a night game. I know the people out here in Pennsylvania love their whiteout night game. It's still going to be rowdy. I like Penn State to cover this point spread. I think it's going to be a razor thin game, and I just think that when Michigan's margins are impressive, they haven't been challenged yet. So I think that Penn State's going to make a statement in the first half, and they have a defense that'll keep them in it.
Speaking of impressive, I even in defeat, I was impressed with Missouri. I've been impressed with Missouri throughout this season. They host Tennessee. I know Tennessee's a road favorite. Where do you see this one going? And just overall, Missouri and what you've taken away now 9 games with Eli Drinkwitz and that squad.
Yeah, well, very impressed with what he's done this year. 7-2, a couple close losses to Georgia and LSU. Could make an argument for second place in the East, and this game will really decide that, which is light years ahead of where they were a couple years ago. So you're seeing all of his elite recruiting pay off. He really targeted the offensive skill positions, and you're seeing that come through. Mookie Cooper, Luther Burden, the 5-star receiver. So, in this game, I think the wrong team is favored. This is one of those where I think it should be Missouri favored. I'll call for them to win. Now, with Tennessee, you do have a well-rounded team. Last year, they were pass-heavy and no defense. It's kind of the opposite. It's a real strong run team and good defense for Tennessee. But I like Missouri here. They're hot. They're throwing the ball really well. A lot of yards after catch. And with the home field advantage, they're going to go with them.
Talking with Brett Cianci, a Pick Six preview here on 1620 The Zone. Okay, so you got to explain to me Arizona. They take on Colorado, but all of a sudden they've rattled off 3 straight. I don't think anybody was looking at this team at the beginning of the season and thinking that we would see them in the top 25, but here they are going up against a Colorado team that's headed the other direction.
Yeah, this will prove how out of context Arizona is. In the preseason magazine world, I was the highest of any on Arizona. I thought that I was really, I found a gem here. But even for that, I put them 7th in the conference, and that was good for maybe 40th nationally. So, I mean, even the bullish case for Arizona wasn't even anywhere near how high they are here. So, very impressed with Jed Fish, what he's been able to pull off. It's both sides of the ball. Last year, they had a good offense. It was a little bit erratic with Jaden DeLaura, but great offense. This year, the defense to match it, and a true freshman quarterback, Fafita. They're one of the hottest teams in the country right now. And if you look back at some of their losses, they had USC on the ropes. They had Washington close. So this team is legit. And yeah, I think they're going to win big here against Colorado. They're going to cover the 10-point spread and continue to surge in that top 25. What a great rebuild job. People lose track of how bad Arizona was 2 years ago. 1-11. The year before that, they were 0-4 the COVID year.
Yeah.
So very impressed so far.
Big one tomorrow night in the SEC, and we've mentioned Georgia, second-ranked Georgia hosting 9th-ranked Ole Miss. We know Lane Kiffin is the simple message to his guys of nothing to lose in this one too. Georgia, I will say, obviously hasn't looked as dominant as they did a year ago, but it always seems like in these games they kind of remind us who they are. Do they do that tomorrow night?
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Anytime you start to challenge one of these dynasty programs, they really flex harder than ever. So, but yeah, first with Ole Miss, a great job getting to this point with just one loss. A lot of tight margin games. They're kind of a mystery because they're barely surviving in these games against, no matter what the competition is, it'll be a 1-score win. And pretty well-rounded, too, when you look at their numbers. I mean, a decent passing attack, a decent rushing attack. Nothing super dominant, but no real weaknesses. And I think with Georgia, you hit it on the head. In these big games, they're going to show up, and I still like their defense in a big game like this. And I like Georgia to win here.
Before we get you out, I do want to ask you about some of the Big Ten games, and I know Nebraska is going to have rooting interests in some of these as well. An interesting matchup, I think, and I'm curious where you are, and that it does involve a top 25 team in 22nd ranked Iowa, according to the college football playoff rankings, that is, taking on Rutgers that's already bowl eligible. We know what Iowa can do between a defense and special teams, but we also know what they can't do offensively. Rutgers has been extremely competitive. It's essentially a pick 'em in this one at Kinnick Stadium. Is that one on your radar at all?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it made some betting history with the lowest over-under total. I think 28.5.
Yep, 28.5 is where it is right now.
I feel like we joke about this every week, but then Iowa crushes it way under. I mean, it would be 7-0, 10-7 last week. And to their credit, they win these games. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to get wins and losses.
Yes, they do.
They are sitting there in the driver's seat of the West Division with that formula. But they're going to be challenged against Rutgers. I think I'm going to call for Rutgers to win here. It's Gianna's best team in his second stint here in New Jersey. And you look at strength on strength. It's Iowa's defense, and Rutgers has a great defense too. I know Iowa's a little bit stronger, but I think Rutgers is a more well-rounded team. And I'll go for Rutgers here. It might come down to a late field goal either way, but I'm going to go for Rutgers here. Iowa's living on the edge too much week to week, and I think Rutgers gets it done.
It's Brett Ciancia again with Pick Six Previews. Always some great stuff there at Pick Six Previews, and also a good follow at Pick Six Previews on Twitter. Brett, enjoy the great football weekend, my man. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks. Enjoy and good luck against Maryland. Go get that bowl eligibility.
I know it's a little stressful, but we'll see. Appreciate it, man. When we come back, we are going to get to weekend's best plays with Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. He'll tell you who he likes, and that is coming up next year on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Hey, my friends over at Woodhouse Mazda are going to get you taken care of when it comes to all of the Mazda SUV collection. But let me tell you about the Mazda CX-30 over at Woodhouse Mazda. This crossover, it comes with available Skyactiv 2.5 turbo engine, which delivers up to 250 horsepower. And you always get the standard iActive all-wheel drive. Why is that important? Well, as it gets colder, as we get a little bit of Mother Nature impact in the winter, you're going to have that peace of mind that everyone in your vehicle is as safe as can be with that Skyactiv all-wheel drive. I appreciated the overall comfort of the Mazda CX-30 as well. And also now Mazdas come with prepaid maintenance and protection products. So there you go for customer service as well. Get out to Woodhouse Mazda in 2 convenient locations and shop during the Season of Inspiration event going on now. Starting MSRP is $26,669. Experience a customer experience second to none. A team that understands how valuable your time is and offers a streamlined purchasing experience. Chat with a sales team member online and easily schedule a test drive, check vehicle availability, and much more. Customize your deal conveniently online and a variety of financing options to choose from at WoodhouseMazda.com or WoodhousePlaceMazda.com. It's a drive worth experiencing.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. This week, Josh Allen and the Bills meet the Broncos. Buffalo needs a win following last week's loss at the Bengals. Quarterback Russell Wilson and Denver are coming off a bye and a 2-game winning streak. Ross Tucker now have all the action of the Broncos at the Bills on Monday Night Football.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone.
Standard Heating and Air Conditioning is and has always been locally owned and operated. Now, with 160 employee owners, chances are one of us lives in your neighborhood. We take pride in taking care of you, our customers, and keeping you comfortable all year round. And as always, our technicians don't have sales quotas. When other companies send salespeople, Standard sends qualified technicians. It's just part of
Carrier, turn to the experts.
Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is always looking to make your game day bigger and better. Cheer on your favorite team this season in front of a 22-foot LED video wall showing up to 8 games at once. TVs are everywhere else you can look with a state-of-the-art audio and video system. Enjoy a big old pizza or award-winning char-buffed wings. There's just no better way to do your game day. Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road. And for takeout at 162nd and Maple.
This hour is powered by Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair, Nebraska on 1620 The Zone.
Listen to the Woodhouse Auto Family Blue Jays shoot-around and overtime shows, the Creighton men's basketball pregame and postgame shows on 1620 The Zone. The Woodhouse Auto Family Blue Jays shoot-around and overtime shows are also presented by Union Bank and Trust. Hear the breakdown and coverage about your top-ranked Creighton men's basketball team before and after each game, exclusively on your home for the Creighton Blue Jays. 1620 The Zone, the 1620 The Zone mobile app, and 1620thezone.com.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is 2 $25 vouchers for just $25 to 72 Table and Tap. Try one of the 20 beers on tap or any of the 150 whiskeys. They also serve salads, tasty bar food, flatbreads, pizzas, sandwiches, and desserts. 72 Table and Tap. Eat, drink, gather, and repeat.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com. 1620 The Zone. and 1620thezone.com. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Are we going with some cake?
We are.
A guy who goes the distance no matter what is Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports, who's going to get you right this weekend with his plays. We got some college football to get to with Lee as he joins us. Good morning, Lee. How are you, my man?
I'm good. I'm real good. I can kind of see the holidays, looking ahead. Guys do anything special holidays?
So I'm actually going to Mexico next week to officiate. Yeah, I'm going to be an officiant at my brother-in-law's wedding. So that's kind of the big trip right before Thanksgiving. But everything else is going to be here in good old Omaha, Nebraska.
Gee, I'll be at KUK State next Saturday.
Did you just ask if I'm marrying my sister?
Yeah.
No.
Your sister? Oh, you said your brother-in-law's wedding.
Yeah, my brother-in-law who's getting married to my future sister-in-law, but no, there's no Come on, Lee. I mean, geez.
Brother-in-law.
My brother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
It's my wife's brother.
Okay. Okay, your wife's brother. Okay.
Are we doing a Venn diagram right now?
Get the telestrator out.
Man, Lee, right out of the gate on fire.
There's so much stuff going on these days. I watch some of these date lines.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you need almost like you need like a pen and paper. You got to, write down connect all the dots.
That's true. I'm glad I don't have to do that, but I guess you're probably not wrong.
He's got you there.
Well played, Lee. College football. I know, awkward transition, but we'll get there. We've got first of all, a big number with Ohio State as they will be taking on Michigan State, a team that did take care of Nebraska last week, coming off of that victory. Ohio State laying 31. How do you see it?
Michigan State's not fared well against ranked opponents this year. They've lost by 34 and 49 points, but showed a little bit of fight last week, unfortunately, against Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
I think they might have some fight left in them for one more week. I don't think there's any great team out there, and that Ohio State offensive line, they had trouble. Just think that this game is going to be tighter than most people would have expected here. Series visitor, 10-4 against the spread here. I think Ohio State wins, like 45-17, but 30.5 is a lot in a conference game.
I wouldn't want to touch that. Purdue and Minnesota, well, if you don't want to touch 31.5, you can touch one.
So here's the problem, I think, with backing Purdue. Purdue is a team that just doesn't do any one thing well. And Minnesota, at least, they have a pretty darn good coaching staff. So I'm watching this Purdue team, and their play calling on third downs is atrocious. And they're going to have to come up. I think they've got to play with the lead if they want to beat Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota's going to blow this game here. Crazy stat here. Minnesota's outrushed 7 of the 9 opponents. Purdue has been outrushed 7 of the 9 games here. You win games up front a lot of times in the Big Ten here, and just think that Hudson Card is not the guy. 9 for 26 last week here. Let's go with Minnesota, 27-20.
Iowa, Rutgers, and Iowa continues to set that over-under lower and lower and lower, 28.5 right now. But they are a slight favorite at home at Kinnick Stadium against Rutgers. Is Iowa living on the edge too much, in your opinion?
Well, I don't know if I've ever seen this. A 7-2 team has outgained total of 1 opponent this year, Western Michigan. Not one conference opponent. Their only score last week was on a block punt. I mean, geez Louise. But they're going to have a tough time against Rutgers. Rutgers, top 40 run offense. This will be the first time that Iowa faces a dual-threat quarterback all season. And Greg Schiano has his teams prepared. They're 9-3-2 against the spread on the road. Rutgers special teams are right up there with Iowa's. Their kicker, back Jai Patel, 11 for 13 on the year, even better than Drew Stevens, is 14 for 18. Barn burner, Rutgers 10-8.
Oh. So if you have any weddings to go to.
So the under hits again.
From one end of the spectrum to the other, arguably the game of the day is Michigan at Penn State, with Michigan -4 over Penn State. But a lot of people are hopping on the Penn State bandwagon going into this. Maybe it's the karma. They want Michigan to lose.
James Franklin, there's a lot of karma there. James Franklin, I think, this is the biggest game of his coaching career. He's got to play with the lead. He's got to find a way to put the pressure on Michigan. They fall behind like last week. It's not going to happen. I'm amazed sometimes. He's coaching who's making so much money. Come up with a couple plays. Set up some plays the week before. Show some stuff, and then do some plays off that that your opponent's not going to expect. So we'll see. First half is going to be very important. They fall behind by 7 to 10 points. They are not coming back, in my opinion, in this game. Last month, they were ranked number 3, played nobody. They go on the road, couldn't do anything against Ohio State. Now Michigan, ranked 2 or 3, depending on the poll here. They're going on the road. Number 1 and number 2 defenses. You get more of a field goal, you take the underdog. We're calling for the upset here. Wrong team favorite.
Whoa.
Penn State outright 24-21.
Okay.
I can see that.
All right. The big question, and this number has pretty much stayed true, and that is 2.5 in favor of Maryland on the road against Nebraska. Big question that we were hoping to answer last week. Will Nebraska get bowl eligible? They got an opportunity at home, and they are getting 2.5 points lead. Does it happen for Nebraska this weekend?
I'm hearing weather. Some terrible weather winds, like 25.
The wind could be it's going to be in the 50s, but yeah, the wind could be a little bit more of a thing. Sure.
I think that could affect the game here. And Maryland likes to throw the ball around, and this time of year, they're usually turning the ball over quite a bit here. Mike Locksley, some of his statements, he says, that his team needs to take the next step to become a championship type of program.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to learn how to play when you're the favorite, when you're expected to win. Well, he's not getting the job done. Is he just figuring that out right now? This isn't the first 4 or 5 games of the season. I'm going to take the team with better defense, home dog with a winning record here. Nebraska, 27-20.
Oh, we love you for that one.
He's got everyone
All right.
covered. Free play this week, Lee, and this one obviously I'm very interested in. Kansas and Texas Tech, trying to figure out why that's only 3. Tell us how we can find out more.
Well, we're going to do this. I have a real strong feeling on this game. First 5 callers, I'm going to give it to them for free. Just call 800-400-9741. First 5 callers are going to get Kansas and Texas Tech on me. 800-400-9741. And how about this, guys? We rate our games from 10 to 50 units. On our 40 to 50 unit plays, we're 62-20 lifetime. First time ever in the history of Paramount Sports' 30-year history, we have 2 40 to 50 unit plays. 1 in college, 1 in the NFL. How do you get it? Both of these plays plus 5 other big plays in college football and the NFL. 7 selections, $117. Just 1 place, ParamountSports.com.
It's Lee Sterling, the man, joining us every Friday this time. Lee, always appreciate you jumping on. Enjoy the sports weekend, and best of luck as always, my man.
You too, guys. Have a great week.
Remember, was it Lee who called Michigan State beating Nebraska last weekend? I believe it was.
Yes.
So, and that kind of, because everybody else was taking Nebraska in that one. And then that got brought up to our attention this week of the amount of people that went all in on Nebraska last week. So there's something to that. We're going to get back into this game. We're going to talk more Nebraska, Maryland.
But he said they're going to win this week.
He did. That's what I'm saying.
That's
I'm hoping we keep that streak alive of Lee being correct when it comes to Nebraska football games.
You've had some good luck with the overreactions this year. They haven't been too bad.
Yeah, the only one I did, again, you could have brought in old Kevin Kugler, Michael Severe, and Bob Bruce to do Big Red overreaction, and they weren't going to be Michigan. So that one's on my ledger. That's the only loss I've got. I've got the Michigan game.
Yeah, you throw that out.
I'm 3-1. I've got to be 4-1. Josh Peterson and myself on Big Red overreaction on Coil tomorrow, and I'm hoping it is a celebration of a bowl eligibility feel.
And for 5 minutes to make the Coil listener feel at home, you will go on some outrageous far right-wing takes.
Why not?
You guys will play a
Why
bit.
not?
It's a skit.
You know what? If Nebraska wins tomorrow, I will cater to everyone.
You'll go all Bill O'Reilly and do it live.
Sure. Why not?
Is he on there? I don't even know. I don't pay attention.
Yeah, I don't know.
Monty Haywood was a convicted felon, isn't he?
Well, he should be. All right. When we come back, we are going to get you more from what Matt Rule had to say yesterday, including some of the health concerns for a couple of players. We'll give you the latest on that. Also want to get some thoughts on Nebraska's victory last night over Florida A&M. Despite a slow, sort of sloppy game, I still drawing some positives from this group.
Well, yeah, they won.
Yeah, well, that they did. And we will give you the guide of who to root for in the Big Ten this weekend. Because not only is Nebraska trying to be bowl eligible, they're trying to stay afloat in the Big Ten West race. That's still a thing. All good things in November. As we return, it is Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of a delay from 183rd to 168th on Center. Then along 204th, be prepared for a little bit of a slowdown from Harrison to Q Street. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
The Nebraska Lottery hopes you have yourself a classic little Christmas by entering non-winning holiday classic scratch tickets for a chance to win $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, or $20,000. Top prize odds vary by game. Promotion ends January 3rd, 2024.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
I'm former Husker Terry Keneally. And I'm former Husker Titus Adams. Titus and I used to sack quarterbacks, but now we're fighting for the children of East Omaha. Terry and I are on the board of the Q's Fund, which supports the Q's school system, made up of Holy Name, All Saints, and Sacred Heart School, which I am a proud graduate of. Our students receive a values-based education with the family support they need. And they go on to graduate high school at a 96% rate. Learn more about our children at qschools.org.
When you switch to Boost Mobile, you can get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G and a pretty powerful way to get after it.
Like me, Tusi, a man who fell in love with music and fell on hard times. I'm writing songs in my room, sitting on top of the charts, all because I made poetry out of pain. And I always knew I'd be on the stage singing your favorite song.
Switch to Boost and get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone on America's largest 5G networks.
Boost Mobile. Get after it.
New customers only. Taxes extra. One device per line. 5G not available everywhere. Other restrictions apply.
Down the 7
The Eagles present The Long Goodbye, the final tour, live in Omaha. With special guest Steely Dan.
Are you reeling in the
The Eagles, CHI Health Center, Saturday, February 10th. Get tickets Friday, November 17th at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. The Eagles, The Long Goodbye, the final tour.
When families visit Omaha to seek medical treatment for their sick kids, Ronald McDonald House not only provides a place to stay, but access to food and home-cooked meals. So Ronald McDonald House needs your help to support those families with Stuff the Pantry 2023. Visit the Baker's locations at Saddle Creek or Pepperwood on Saturday, November 18th and Sunday, November 19th from 10 to 4 to donate one or more of the items on the pantry wish list. Get details at rmhcomaha.org. We appreciate all your help during this holiday season.
Texting rules during automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
Well, it's a patented key ingredient called testofen. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. It's backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text ALL to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone-boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text ALL to 42424. That's ALL to 42424. Products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness.
This hour is powered by Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair, Nebraska on 1620 The Zone.
42 Degrees, with locations in Omaha, Council Bluffs, and Lincoln, has become a year-round corporate sponsor of the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry. What began as a 5-day food drive 2 years ago has turned into a 365-day commitment by 42 Degrees to support the overwhelming needs of veterans in our community. 42 Degrees customers have contributed thousands of dollars in food and hygiene donations, and 42 Degrees gave the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry a $2,500 check last November. 42 Degrees has food bins ready year-round to receive canned, dry food, and hygiene donations for the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry. During the year, 42 Degrees will have special sales with the proceeds going to the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry. The Omaha Veterans Food Pantry serves veterans who are low income, near homeless, or homeless who are not living in a shelter. 42 Degrees is proud to support the Omaha Veterans Food Pantry, and thanks to their customers in the community for their continued support and patronage.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Round and round, rat.
So
on your classic rock station, 1620 The Zone.
hi, handsome Dan. Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
Whoa.
Like, wings were party time.
Yeah, all right. Everyone's talking about it. It is Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy, 1620 The Zone.
So
and
early in my career, I don't know how this became a thing, but on Friday night, game night, I was calling football. And our midday person, she would play this song every Friday. And so this became kind of my Friday song.
Okay. All right.
Why? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I celebrate Rat's entire catalog.
Well, you should.
But, you know,
I could not name you one other Rat song. I'm ashamed to say that because I grew up with 3 older brothers that were into hair bands.
it was Lay It Down,
Oh, yeah. There you go. Good call.
Slip of the Lip, Nobody Rides for Free.
I don't know if I know any of that. Lay it down. Lay
about all I
it
got.
down. Yeah, I know that song, but
this one was the song on
yeah.
Friday. We
Okay.
had this song, and then my other Friday song that they would play for me. Again, don't know why. It wasn't "Don't Know Why." It's a great song. That's a banger. But we're not jamming out to Nora Jones on Football Friday.
No.
But "Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck" by Prong.
Whoa.
Yeah. I've never heard the Kids Bop version of that.
Yeesh.
I don't know if they're jamming out to that at your kids' daycare right now.
Also, a big hearty good morning to all of our friends on the stream right now. Dion wants to know, where did Goofy Gary go? Gary is with us. Gary, I don't know if Gary's monitoring.
Spirit.
Gary is going from one hotel to breakfast, and then I think back with the team as they get ready to take off. So Gary will be rejoining us. If you missed him earlier, he was with us for the first hour and a half. He will be rejoining us right before we turn things over to Connor Happer.
Kind of a relaxing day in North Texas. They'll probably get a practice later on. But
It doesn't sound like it's a relaxing morning, though. He comes on the air with us.
Yeah, he needed good coffee.
Yeah, and they had bad coffee, and then they're going to, I believe they're going to a player's parents' house for breakfast, and then they're going to be taken off from the hotel.
Which kind of reminds me of Twister when they go to Meg's.
Yeah. Oh, steak and eggs.
Yeah.
So that is where Gary is, UNO basketball, who lost last night to TCU. Then they play North Texas tomorrow night. So Gary is now beginning the basketball road trips, the non-conference road trips, which, again, as he's mentioned, if you've looked at UNO's schedule, Not nearly as demanding as far as a road slate as they've had in previous years.
But some fun little trips. You know, the Metroplex trip is always fun. Next week, he's in the Springs.
That's right. Oh, Colorado Springs is awesome.
I can't remember who they play Thursday. I know one of the days they play Bill and Mary. They play two people.
Yeah. I believe they prefer William. But that is where Gary is. He will be joining us, of course. He'll be back in full capacity on Monday of a Reaction Monday. Will it be a Victory Monday? That is the question. Will it be a Victory Monday? And we keep talking about just getting to bowl eligibility, which first and foremost is the most important thing for Nebraska in their matchup against Maryland. Maybe you did this after Nebraska lost to Michigan State. Maybe you didn't. The biggest and most frustrating part to me for Nebraska's loss to Michigan State was you had a golden opportunity to basically be in the driver's seat, or at least be right there with Iowa in the Big Ten West race. Because while Nebraska was losing to Michigan State, we remember Indiana inexplicably beat Wisconsin. And you needed Illinois to take down Minnesota. Well, they did that. You own a tiebreaker over Illinois if it came down to that.
Humble brag. I actually did think Indiana was going to beat Wisconsin, but not enough that I put them in my 4-quarter pick.
Really? Yeah.
I tried to stay away
even
from
with
Big
even
Ten
with
games,
Braylon
to be
Allen
honest with
out. Yeah, and especially involving Big Ten West teams right now. Like for instance, that
Unless
Nebraska or
we're
that
doing
Iowa
under
Rutgers.
overs.
Yeah, well, yeah. Lee predicted what was it? 10-8.
Yeah. He told me on the phone before we went on, if you're planning on knitting or doing any other household chores, Iowa Rutgers is the game for you.
Well, and Iowa damn near blew that game last week against Northwestern over at Wrigley Field in the pothole inside the goal line there.
The bullpen tried their best to get
They
it
did.
away.
I will give Iowa social media a lot of credit, though. They leaned into it because when they get the game-winning field goal, it says a 3-run shot. That was pretty good. And I get it. They were also playing at Wrigley Field. But so the opportunity you had not only to become bowl eligible last week, but also to really put yourself right in the driver's seat of the Big Ten West race, that was frustrating. That was disappointing because a lot of things happen around you. Now, the good news about it is those things still did happen even with the Nebraska loss, so you didn't play yourself out of it last week. That's a good thing. This week you have, and as we talked about, the Rutgers-Iowa game, Minnesota-Purdue, Northwestern, Wisconsin, all of those games we're keeping close tabs on. Clearly, you're rooting for Rutgers. You're also rooting for Purdue, and you're rooting for Northwestern tomorrow. If you need to know who to root for, and of course, put all of your all of your cheers and good feels and good vibes and everything into Nebraska versus Maryland. But it's another weekend. Again, this is another weekend where Nebraska sets the tone. So you got Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Penn State, Nebraska, Maryland are your 11 a.m. games involving Big Ten teams. So none of those games
do it for you?
None of those games have an impact in the Big Ten West race other than what Nebraska does with Maryland. Illinois is still on the outside looking in, so I wouldn't really consider that a factor. Your games of interest that impact the Big Ten West race are all at 2:30. Rutgers, Iowa, Minnesota at Purdue, Northwestern at Wisconsin.
Oh, so after you celebrate Nebraska's sixth win, you can sit back with a beverage and enjoy Iowa Rutgers and an afternoon nap.
Wouldn't that be the ideal thing?
Always better when you win.
You're able to get that victory. There's the euphoria of going to a bowl game for the first time since 2016. Then,
and not because of your grades.
Right. Then all of a sudden you watch Minnesota struggle against Purdue or Rutgers beat Iowa.
Blow them out 13-3.
As much as I want to give Northwest, and I do think David Braun has done a great job. As much as I want to give Northwestern any type of shot, I can't. That's out of those three games at 2:30. Yeah.
Last week was on. Didn't get it done.
Yep.
Wisconsin needs to bounce back. They will.
I think they will.
In a shootout.
I wouldn't take them
23-3.
They're okay. So you would take Wisconsin the points.
Oh,
I
yeah.
wouldn't take Wisconsin the points because, again,
They're going to play better.
I'm not going to take any Big Ten
They're
West
going to
team.
jump around.
I do think that is probably the game that I would say seems to favor the home team the most out of those matchups. Again, though, Minnesota's on the road, so I guess that, looking at it from the standpoint of who should you be rooting for. It's just, and Gary brought this up in the 7 o'clock hour. Oh, I'm sorry, in the 6 o'clock hour. The
7 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, there you go. The discovery of this Nebraska football team and what we continue to learn. I don't know. Would you agree that last week you're going into East Lansing, you're not feeling this greater amount of pressure than you would have on a normal game day? You're on the cusp. Sure, you're at 5 wins, but
the nerves aren't there as they're going to be tomorrow.
Because
if they don't win tomorrow, there's a very good possibility they lose out, and all this bowl talk and Big Ten West and blah blah blah. Nothing. You're staying home. 5-7.
And I don't want to like make it sound like the players are looking way ahead and overlook this game.
They're
Again,
not.
when you're Nebraska,
We're just talking about fans,
right?
The players, if they're looking past Maryland, we have much bigger issues. I guarantee you, they're not looking.
Well, somebody had tweeted at me after the game last Saturday, said Nebraska was looking past Michigan State. No, they weren't.
No, they weren't.
Nebraska they're not good enough to look past anybody. This coaching staff understands that. The message was very, very clear. Yeah, you can look at the things that Michigan State were struggling with and say, hey, we can tee off on that area or we can expose them there. But it wasn't a situation of these guys are no good. We're so much better. Bring on the 6th win and let's go party against Maryland to follow. No, none of that was happening. This program is not even close to being in a spot to where that is a realistic case. Nebraska did what most college football teams do. You get to a certain part of the season and you underperform. Now, sometimes you underperform and you still win. When you are an uber talented team, you can underperform and still come out victorious, and you can take a lot away from a game that you just didn't have it. Unfortunately for Nebraska, they're not good enough that when you underperform, most occasions you're going to come out with a loss. I think it got Nebraska's attention for sure, but I don't feel like they were pressing so hard and just completely putting too much on themselves, both physically and mentally, with that game. Tomorrow is another story, because now, not just fans, but as a player, you probably can't help but to consider the remainder of the season. And yes, I understand there are a lot of players that are on this roster that have not been to Madison, Wisconsin, and understand
nice town,
the house of horrors that Madison has been to Nebraska. But I think you understand the challenges that they will have, especially if they are a little bit more healthy. And then Iowa, we can make fun of their offense all we want, but as I said yesterday, Iowa essentially is a better version of Nebraska right now. Iowa's got a very, very, very good defense. Special teams far more reliable than Nebraska's. Their offense, if you put both offenses on the same plane, let's give Iowa's offense at least this. They don't turn the ball over at the rate that Nebraska's does. If Nebraska and Iowa are playing clean football, not turning the football over, okay, I would maybe give Nebraska a slight, and I mean a slight edge. So you know that there's that challenge too. This is a Maryland team. Lee talked about it. I was reading one of their beat writers who covers Maryland and his overall breakdown of the Terps. You think people were discouraged after Nebraska lost to Michigan State last week? The media that follows Maryland, it's almost like they've seen this so often that they have zero confidence that Michael Locksley can push the right buttons. And this team is going to be able to bounce back. And everybody points back that covers Maryland to the second half against Ohio State, which was weeks ago. But the way that game, and you're beating Ohio State, and the game just completely flipped. And it was almost kind of a reminder of, you think you're close to us? Not even close. not even as close as it's what you hope it was. Like Ohio State is so far better. And then they kind of didn't process that very well. I don't know if there is sort of a culture there. It sounds like Michael Locksley talks about the culture of this Maryland team that is a strong culture, and he doesn't look at some of the past years and compare them to this year. But you know what? You know where else I heard that? When Scott Frost would say the same stuff. Scott Frost would talk about, that this year is different than the 2 previous years too. The bottom line is Maryland is searching for it. They're looking for it. And if you're Nebraska, this is why I go back to how this game is the tone, I guess, that is being set in this game. If Nebraska is able to put them on the ropes, put Maryland on the ropes early, I love where Nebraska is, which is interesting too, because Jimmy, Maryland actually does have an offense. Even if Nebraska were to get out to an early lead,
Yes, they have a miniature Tua.
They do. They have little Talia, but they've got an offense that can score in bunches. So you would think, well, you can't, if you're up like say 10-0, that the game is over because Nebraska's defense is going to feast. No, Maryland could do something
Now,
about
if
it.
Nebraska falls behind 10-0,
I
it
hate
might
that.
be over.
Well, and I'll tell you why. Not just because Nebraska's offense can't make up that difference.
I mean, I suppose you could kick 4 field goals.
Well, I think that it's because Maryland all of a sudden gets in rhythm and does what they want to do offensively. That's been a problem with Maryland. When they've gotten behind, they've completely abandoned the run game. They've become so one-dimensional that they become a lot easier to defend. When they get leads, they're able to use their running game. It's not a strong running game, but they're able to use the running game. They're able to process the offense the way that they want to. With the lead, they're tough to slow down.
Well, here's a stat for you. Coworker Connor Happer, who works with us here at the radio station, going back to 2014 when they joined the Big Ten, November record is 7-28. This is Turtle. Months that aren't November, 43-36.
Yeah.
Guess what? It's November.
Mm-hmm.
Again, do with that what you will.
And again, they're there for the taking. And I would agree with Gary on this one because this game being just about Nebraska. If you tell me...
This is why he said boring is good.
And I totally agree. Because if you tell me that Nebraska doesn't cough up the ball once, which could happen. It could. I'm not predicting that it will, but it could. Sure, I like Nebraska in this game. If Nebraska defensively sort of rediscovers their fastball, if you will. Because they weren't all that bad last week. But it was like a starter who is... use a baseball reference. It's like a starter who doesn't have his best stuff, but is competing. He's getting you
That's
outs.
okay, you can.
He's getting you outs, but he doesn't have his electric stuff like he normally does. Nebraska didn't have their electric stuff defensively, but they were still effective. If the defense and the one of those two things I just laid out, I feel confident in is that Nebraska's defense is closer to having their stuff. The one area that I don't know how you could expect it is Nebraska lays down 0 turnovers. Because, and I will continue to be amazed by this, that you have a team that has a winning record with a minus 12 turnover margin. It defies logic. It's like the 2021 Nebraska team that, despite all the numbers and the metrics, they only won 3 games. Being minus 12 and still having a winning record right now defies logic. It truly does. Teams don't win games when you cough up the football that much.
But that's why they're saying, guys, you got to stop. Eventually, the law of averages is going to come back and get us.
Mm-hmm.
Last Saturday might be an example.
It was.
Something
It totally
like that
was.
Instead of being minus 3, let's try plus 3 and see what that's like, just to see if we like it.
Hell,
see if it changes.
Let's make it a net 0.
Plus 0.
Just net
see
0.
What it's like. Just slip it in. Just try it.
I want to believe that.
If we don't like it, we can go back to minus 3 if it's good with her. But for one game.
Well, and here's some of
the other one.
Some of the matchups that Maryland will present to you. That if you missed us talking about this in the 6 o'clock hour, I'll kind of reiterate it.
By the way, we're not at Hy-Vee today.
Oh, yeah, that is true. It's kind of similar to Michigan State's defense. Michigan State defensively was very bad against the pass. Maryland had a good secondary last year. They're struggling this year. And they will give you some soft zone coverage. They've really struggled in the intermediate passing game. We know that Nebraska has more success in that part of the passing game than going with the 15 beyond, the 20 or more. What was the number? Heinrich was 0 for 5, including a pick. Or was it 2? Actually, I think it was 2.
Wait, it's like Buzz's girlfriend, Wolf.
And so where Nebraska probably, if you're going to say they have any success throwing the football, and success is probably loosely interpreted there, but where maybe more of their plays are, more of the plays that they have in the passing game are typically in the intermediate passing game, Maryland will give that up. But does that
like
excite?
A good day for tight ends,
right?
Huh?
Thank you.
All right, there's my pick to click. Give me some Fedoni.
I don't know how Marcus Satterfield, Matt Rule, this offense wants to go about it. I feel like I know what I'd like. And yes, I would like a heavy run game and a lot of...
Wear my shirt tomorrow, wear my hat. I mean, I got to dress up, but I can wear my shirt under my suit jacket, run the damn ball.
It's going to be a thing, but you're going to have to throw the football. Can Heinrich Harburg be on schedule, on point in the intermediate passing game? Because if he can, Nebraska's offense actually might be able to do enough. I know it sounds crazy. They actually might be able to help the defense out. If anybody watched, I know I've been bringing it up a lot this week, watch the Maryland Northwestern game. Brandon Sullivan, who we had seen the previous week against Nebraska, who just looked completely inept, was carving Maryland, just carving them. And I'd like to think that Heinrich Harburg, I won't say he's better than Brandon Sullivan, but I'd like to think they're on the same plane there. I think there's common talent there. But they knew exactly what Maryland was going to give them, and they were able to execute. And I can't remember if Northwestern turned the ball over in that one or not, but if they did, it was at the bare minimum. Just that razor-thin margin, especially in this matchup. I hope that it is the comforts of home. The crowd is feeling it. Everything is what it needs to be. And Nebraska just is able to kind of put all that, what happened last weekend aside, and just play their game, what their game isn't pretty. So play an ugly game.
Wrestle in the mud. Lipstick that pig. All your analogies. Who cares? If you win 6-3, you still win.
Absolutely.
Well, that wasn't pretty. Yeah, but we won. Imagine if we would have lost it.
The injury
like
updates. Yeah, totally.
You win 23-20 instead of losing 20-17. You're like, man, that was a hideously ugly game, but I'm sure glad we won it because imagine if we lost it.
Yep. 13-6. Could care less.
Wins are pretty. You know what happens if you win all your games 13-6? You're a national champion.
Yeah.
You're 15-0.
Yep. The injury situation, and I mentioned this with Billy Kemp. Kemp is progressing. They think he'll have a role. Wouldn't be shocked to see him out there in punt return, but if he's out there in punt return, if he is there to fair catch, what the hell are we doing?
Rick on the stream with words to live by. Just run the ball. It's not that difficult.
Yeah.
Just run the ball.
And I'm telling you too, I know the offensive line sometimes the offensive line sometimes becomes a piñata because it's always the easy thing to just beat on.
With no candy.
Yeah. I'm telling you, if you watch the game last week and go back on it, there was something going with the left side of the offensive line.
They weren't bad.
No, they weren't. I thought Teddy Prohaska did a good job. I thought Justin Evans-Jenkins, he struggled at times, especially in pass pro. Like he got beat a few times. But even Nuri Nwili coming around in some counteraction, they were getting helmets on guys. They were. And you were seeing your most successful runs on that left side of the offensive line. I'm with Gary. I liked what they designed from a running standpoint and some of those new wrinkles. Less option.
Stick with hand off the ball. On tackle.
But
maybe use a fullback. Fullback.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to get people fully husked.
I know.
Maybe too early.
I mean, that potential is there. That potential is there as far as what they could possibly do in the ground game. But again, when it comes down to the plays that will be there for Nebraska in the passing game, intermediate passing plays, can Heinrich Haarberg just deliver there? Because it's amazing how effective this offense could be if that could happen, given this Maryland defense. Now, Maryland's offense versus Nebraska defense, this was, I thought, good news on the injury front. By the way, it does sound like Deshaun Singleton if we see him back, it probably wouldn't be till the very end of the season. So don't expect him coming back anytime soon. But the good news is now you get, Marquise Buford further along, having a role in last week's game. Seems like he's getting better and better, which is great. Does sound like Malcolm Hartzog should be good to go. He was banged up and should be good to go. Princewell is still in the protocol. He will be a game-time decision. Princewell's another guy that I think you'd love to have on.
Hey, you have a big game tomorrow if he plays.
Yeah, because he has been – and remember we talked to Steve Sipple about this. We were talking about the position groups that you thought would be sort of instrumental for that defense to be able to slow down Maryland. He talked about the edge guys. Princewell has been on a heater up until getting concussed. So if you can get him back, if he is a full go, you pretty much are a healthy group with the exception of Deshaun Singleton. And that would be fantastic in this game. Because what we've seen with an experienced quarterback in Tagovailoa, who I feel like he's played for a decade now, you're not going to throw too much at him that he probably hasn't seen. But what you can do for a guy who's a rhythm thrower,
You can make the other guys uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
The
And
receivers uncomfortable.
Even when you're not getting home to knock him down with a football, when you're getting at his feet, when he's having to throw at guys at his feet, absolutely.
Make him uncomfortable.
You get him out of rhythm. And so those guys are going to be extremely important. And as I said yesterday, too, linebackers being able to tackle in space because they like to dink and dunk a lot, too. But if you can just make them one-dimensional, and again, I go back to where we began this conversation, the start of this game for Nebraska is going to be huge. You've got to have points on the board.
First play action, fake, go deep to belly. But then run the ball. Don't pass
Belly
again.
option pass or play action?
No. Old-fashioned play action. And then just run the ball the rest of the game. Nurse your 7-0 lead.
Let's get that place going.
And I joke because, my sarcasm meter's always all the way up. But that is legitimately true. Get the place going. Look, it's probably going to be a little sleepy. 11 a.m. game. It's going to be gray, about 48, 49 degrees. Actually really nice for November, but it's 11. So unless the whole crowd's had a ton of red beers, some Bloody Marys, some mimosas, but still, you're going to need to get them juiced. And the way you do that, get them going early and then just ride the wave. And then defense takes over from there with lots of noise behind them.
It needs to be a tone-setting game for Nebraska. However they do it, however they set the tone, in a positive way, that is. It has to happen. Because that's where I think a team like Maryland that is also looking at this game as their last chance to become bowl eligible.
No trick plays, nothing cute. Just line up, knock the guy in front of you on his ass, and run the ball. After that deep ball.
After the play action.
Just that one. Just as hey, we could do this. Really? Not really. We're just going to run the ball. You're thinking it now.
When we return, I do want to briefly, because I get the opponent last night was Florida A&M. We saw Creighton put up a Handley spot on them.
So you got Creighton by 20.5 over Nebraska now?
Yeah, the line's coming down. The line's coming down. But it was kind of a little bit of a sloppier look for Nebraska. But again, there were some takeaways that I really thought were very positive from what we saw last night from this group that, again, is not even close to being fully healthy. And we will get to that. Also, don't forget Mike Schaefer coming up at 9, Matt Verzel following him. And we also get some final thoughts from Sharpie as well as we continue. It's mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Caller 4 right now, 402-951-1620. Qualifies for 1620 The Zone's 4-quarter pick'em. It's your chance to pick 4 football games correctly against the spread to win $1,620. Call 402-951-1620. Call now to qualify with 1620 The Zone. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
I think one takeaway from this that we can all deduce, this guy is not with CMU. If this would have been one of their people, he would have said that. That's actually Bob. Bob just happens to look like the sign stealer.
They would have said that in the statement yesterday.
They would have
put out by the athletic director. So it's obvious they're not sure exactly who he is.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from Canoyer Garden Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Cooling off as we wrap up the week Friday. Chilly to start with tons of sunshine throughout the morning, then a few more clouds moving in through the afternoon. Winds remain light most of the day with highs around 50. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a bit of a delay from 192nd to 168th on Center. Then on Dodge, be prepared for a minor delay from 80th to 76th. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott.
Giving Tuesday is our biggest local giving day of the year. On November 28th, let's celebrate what the Metro can do together. Donate to your choice of local nonprofits on Giving Tuesday and year-round at shareomaha.org.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. Just think about that. That's $150, Nick, if your team wins.
Yeah, and if your team wins, and if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. It is as easy to use. That app, very easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much more. Visit FanDuel.com. Use the promo code ZONE. That's FanDuel.com/zone and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
It's the most time-honored tradition to start the weekend, grabbing a cold one from a local Nebraska brewery. Let's be real here. It's hot outside, and you don't want to drink the same boring beer as those Hawkeye fans. Drink icy cold, Nebraska-brewed beers, cider, or seltzers instead. Each week, we're putting the spotlight on a unique Nebraska brewery with One Beer Friday. Share your brew on social media with the hashtag One Beer Friday, and you'll be entered to win a $25 gift card to a local Nebraska brewery. Nebraska is the good life with great beer. Click nebraska.beer to learn more.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JPMorgan Chase Bank. Any member FDIC.
Hi, this is Kathy Canoyer. 'Tis the season at Glasshouse Market within Canoyer Garden Center. We'd like to be a part of your family's holiday tradition. Whether you're looking for a gift for that special someone or a wreath for your front door, we'd like to invite you to come shop our stunning holiday market full of Christmas decor, novelty items, and fresh greens. Shop Glasshouse Market, located within Canoyer Garden Center on 66th Street between Cornhusker and Highway 370 in Papillion. Open daily 10 to 6.
At Canoyer Garden Center, everybody's got a green thumb.
The Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Email me, Connor Happer, with the Connor Happer Show at Connor, CONNOR, at 1620thezone.com. Send me your love, your hate, and maybe a few hot takes. The Zone Inbox, presented by Equitable Bank.
Good boy. At Cox, we think all customers deserve a reliable connection. So whether you're a loyal customer who's been with us for years, or you're new to the family like this little guy, you'll get the same great deals on the same great internet. And no matter who you are. See how you can save at Cox.com/deals for all. Other restrictions apply. All rights reserved.
Listen to 1620 The Zone, weekdays for the Big Red Practice Report, presented by Tickets for Less. Visit ticketsforless.com and use promo code The Zone to score incredible savings for your favorite team. It's the Big Red Practice Report, brought to you by Tickets for Less.
Make the right call, fans. The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Rooferees. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, you know who's 2-0? Nebraska basketball, as they won 81-54 over Florida A&M. It wasn't quite the whooping that Creighton put on Florida A&M earlier in the week. And it was kind of a sloppy game early on. Nebraska finished with 18 turnovers. They missed some shots early on. Again, it was a slower start. We'll just say that, because Nebraska really came out like gangbusters against Lindenwood. And it really kind of said
rivals.
Yeah, that Lindenwood, it brings it out of you. But Nebraska, despite again kind of a sloppier than what you saw earlier in the week, Nebraska basketball in a way to me is kind of like Nebraska football. It's like just find ways to win. But I get it. Early in the season against opponents like this, you're talking about like Ken Palm ratings in the 300s. You'd like to see a little bit more than just outscoring them by 1 point. I continue to be very impressed with Rink Mast. Double-double last night, including 20 points and 16 boards. That's not bad. And Rink Mast was a little more aggressive than what you saw earlier in the week. Like he knew he had a size advantage inside, and so he was playing that role. He was being physical. That was kind of good to see. I still am, and I think we're going to really see this in the Big Ten. When Bryce Williams goes up against some of the Big Ten perimeter players, how he matches up, how he sizes up, because there's a lot to like about his game right now. But here's one development that I hope remains a trend for Nebraska hoops that you've now seen in 2 games, and that is having your bench hero. Game 1, it was Sam Hoiberg. He led all scores in that win against Lindenwood. And then last night, and maybe even better because it's a freshman, Eli Rice finishes with 16. So you've gotten bench production from a guy giving you 15 one night and another guy 16 the other night. I understand it's Florida A&M. I understand it was Lindenwood earlier.
But you could have lost those games.
They have.
Yeah, exactly.
There's been Incarnate Word. There's been Samford. There was Western Illinois. All those things have happened in the last.
I've been to Incarnate Word.
They're in Texas, right?
Yeah, they're in San Antonio.
That's what I
It's
thought.
actually where Richard Torres went.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But Spurs basketball camp used to be held there when I was a kid. So
Nebraska shoots on the night. Again, with a game that really got off to a slow start, they end up finishing 41% from the field, 35% beyond the arc. Those are good things considering you still don't have Juwan Gary, but more importantly, Keisei Tominaga. Keisei, who I think if this was a Big Ten game or a game like maybe this was a Creighton game, Keisei probably could have given it a go.
you don't need to rush him back for Florida.
Exactly.
A&M. Let the dude heal.
And he was one of the more vocal guys every time out. You saw him the first guy off the
Coach
bench.
Keisei.
Yes, he was very much into it. But the guys that they have still remaining to get a minute this season, and what you've seen from the group on the floor, dare I say, Nebraska is finding some depth options. But don't forget, Blaise Keita also. Now, Blaise Keita might have a little bit longer return than Juwan Gary and Keisei. I think Casey's probably ready to go. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if he's playing next week. But Juwan Gary will see. Don't know if that's like already it's a multi-game suspension because he's missed 2. When he will come back, his is not injury related, but he is with the team. But what that does to this current group right now, and what you just need Nebraska to be this season, where they need to take that massive step forward. So far, and the starting five obviously will look different when Casey gets back, because Casey, you would assume, would be in the starting five. But then you look at, okay, the guys who played last night. I would assume that means C.J. Wilcher would be one of your first guys off the bench. But continue to love Josiah Alec. He had a huge dunk last night, and he only finishes with 5 points, but his presence, especially defensively, the energy that he brings is another big part of, I think, what's going to make this team fun to watch. So you have kind of a skilled big and Rink Mast who's got range. You've got sort of the energizer element with Josiah Alec. You got Bryce Williams, who's an experienced, kind of a smooth shooter. Jamarcus Lawrence, who I continue to think will be one of your more improved players. Wilcher, I think, is just the consummate teammate. C.J. Wilcher is a guy that I feel like could have given up on this team like 2 years ago. Continues to come back, even though he saw the writing on the wall this year that his role would continue to be sort of spotty, that you're seeing him in the starting lineup. And is it a strong presence as far as what he can do scoring? Maybe on occasion, but he's a guy that this team respects. He's one of the leaders of this team. And that was one of the big things of when you had Derek Walker and Sam Griesel graduate. How are you going to replace that type of those type of dudes in the locker room? Not necessarily on the floor, but more importantly, like the kind of role that they had with guys looking up to them. I think C.J. Wilcher has that. Rink Mast, who's a new guy, also seems to have that. But then you look at the bench right now. Boogie Coleman get you 17 minutes last night. Boogie Coleman's another guy that can handle the point. He's played a lot of college basketball. Eli Rice as a freshman, a lot of good guys to kind of learn from. Sam Hoiberg is, I think, improved a lot too. Like, you start looking down at that bench, then all of a sudden you put C.J. Wilcher down on the bench there too. When Casey gets back, when Juwan Gary, like, there's, even in sort of a sloppy night, just far more positives, in my opinion, to take away from this team. I'm not gushing over an 81-54 victory over Florida A&M, but
But beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Right, but
Get your wins now.
I'm impressed with what type of options they seem to have, is maybe the best way to put that, regardless of who the opponent is right now. Because isn't that what we're doing right now in college basketball? Like, you watch Kansas, you're going to see North Dakota State, you watch Creighton. Aren't we at this point, we know that there are games that you should just win, so you maybe sort of overlook that part of it.
Well,
but you're trying to get a feel
for
it. Right, and you're trying to get a feel of what this team could look like. You're trying to look at different combinations of how, when they sub, what combination looks best on the floor. You know, when someone gets in foul trouble, okay, who spells that person?
That's why I say stay healthy.
Yeah.
Get better. Work on the things you want to work in. And it's not practice against live competition, and build your momentum so that when you get to league play, you're in a good position to maybe make a run at, say, like a 20-11 or something like that. It can be done.
It has happened before.
Yeah.
No, I can't poo-poo the 2-0 start, even with the opponents that they've played, because there just seems to be something about this team that, I'll go back to the word again, the options. They look like they have more viable options scoring than what we've seen in the past, but we'll see when it gets real. But so far, yeah, I think it'll be a fun team to follow. I do. All right, when we return, we'll get back to some more Nebraska, Maryland. Also going to be talking to Mike Schaefer, Matt Verzel. Gary will rejoin us before we get out of here as we continue. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone.
Ryan Radke here from Sunday Night Football on Westwood One. Coming up Sunday in prime time, the Raiders host the New York Jets. Zach Wilson of the Jets will look to avoid a second straight primetime loss after falling to the Chargers on Monday night. They'll meet a Raiders team looking for a second straight win under new head coach Antonio Pierce. Join Mike Golick and me for all the action from Las Vegas on Sunday Night Football.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone.
Whoa, Sandra, So in less than a week, you'll have
my forklift operator certificate.
And Joseph, you're quick to
respond. Yeah, with my degree in paramedicine, I'll be a
first responder. Cool. Bella, where are you off to?
Just knocking out my gen eds before
Transferring to the university? Smart way to say, Bella. Get up to speed with your me time. On campus, online, on your schedule. Get started at mccneb.edu/me. Classes start December 2nd.
This is me at MCC.
Hey folks, Kent Pavelka again to tell you about your local concrete experts at Everlevel Concrete Repair. Now, if you have cracked, uneven concrete, Everlevel can fix it at a fraction of the cost compared to replacement. This is no Band-Aid. Their products are built to last. It gives your concrete the durable protection it needs, and there's still time. I chose Everlevel for my driveway, and I've got peace of mind with their long-term transferable warranty. Everlevel's products and customer service are top-notch, and that's why they've been voted Best of Omaha again this year. Say it with me. Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
Creighton Sports Update.
Creighton men's basketball welcomes the North Dakota State Bison tomorrow afternoon for Military Appreciation Day at 1 p.m. A limited number of single-game tickets are still available for purchase. Visit gocreighton.com/buy to secure your seats. We look forward to seeing you at CHI Health Center Omaha tomorrow. And that's your Creighton Sports Update.
1620 The Zone proudly supports Creighton Athletics.
From sports medicine to spine, bone, and joint problems, Nebraska Medicine is your home for the region's most comprehensive orthopedic care. Our specialists have the unmatched expertise to diagnose and treat common and complex problems, with surgery being a last resort. With multiple locations, our leading care is miles ahead, yet close to home. For orthopedic advances, this is where you begin. Visit nebraskamed.com/ortho.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
And typically at our unauthorized Big Red Breakfasts, we always tell you that we have an opportunity to enhance your game experience.
Sounds like you're giving people a blue pill to watch the game.
Yes. Enhancement.
Take that. Just don't stand up.
I'll just say that it'll be a pleasant enough day to, I don't know, maybe take a trip to Lincoln. I don't know, maybe watch some college football.
We're
You can do with that.
specifying which game, but
Yes.
you can figure it out.
But what I almost sound like Davidson. Yes. What you need to know is the phone number and you should know it now because we are going to play Name That Maryland Alum.
I guess I should have gotten the...
Woo! Crab cakes and football.
Yeah, I like a good crab cake.
All right, so here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to lay out some hints about a Maryland. Favorite Maryland alums, and you could just go that route. But the number to know is 402-951-1620.
I'm
Now
not
there
answering now. We haven't asked a question
Yeah.
yet.
I was like, I know. I'm already going to know. I love the confidence. You're like, I don't care what he asks. I'm going to know. Now they
I'll
have...
name that tune in one note.
You've got... Did you know that Jim Henson, the creator of the Muppets,
There's
is a
the answer.
Maryland alum? That is not the answer.
That actually would be funny. That's the answer. Call in and just regurgitate it.
But this person, if you can name this Maryland alum, he is in the entertainment business. He is what you could say a creator, a actor, a writer of two extremely successful sitcoms, and you could say he's pretty good.
I see what you did there.
Who is that Maryland alum? 402-951-1620.
Who is that Maryland alum? Presented by
Maryland Crab Cakes.
Turtles.
And Turtles, yes. Oh, no one's getting this one. I thought the phones would be lighting up right now.
Well, they were. They just didn't
I
have
know.
an
They're like,
answer.
oh, wait, I got to answer a question? No, I just want to be the caller. Again, if you want to enhance your game day experience tomorrow, we can't go into details, but I guarantee you'll really, really like it, especially with the weather being pretty tolerable.
Yeah. Hoodie weather.
You've got to name this Maryland alum. And again, here's your hint. This Maryland alum is a creator, actor, writer, producer of two very successful sitcoms, and you could say that he is pretty good. Okay, looks like we got our winner. All right. Who got it, Jimmy? Who got it? All right, we're gonna bring in our winner here. All right.
All right, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you got it.
Yep, I got him. All right, who do we
Go
got
ahead,
here? Who's on the line here?
Hello.
Hello,
Roger. Roger.
Roger, what's
in
up?
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so you know who I'm talking about when it comes to this famous Maryland alum. Who is it?
Larry David.
You are correct.
Larry
Yes.
David is a turtle.
Woo! All
Hey,
right.
Roger, do not hang up. I'm going to talk to you off the air here, and we'll get your information.
Yes.
Okay.
So Jimmy's going to get you taken care of, and congratulations to Roger. Yes, Larry David, amongst many prestigious alum at the University of Maryland. All right, when we come back, Mike Schaefer of Husker 24/7 Sports joins us. Also, former Husker Matt Verz will be on, and we'll be talking with Gary Sharp as he will rejoin us before we get out of here. Hour 4 coming your way. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a bit of a delay from 192nd to 168th on Center. Then on Dodge, be prepared for a minor delay from 80th to 76th. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott.
Giving Tuesday is our biggest local giving day of the year. On November 28th, let's celebrate what the Metro can do together. Donate to your choice of local nonprofits on Giving Tuesday and year-round at shareomaha.org.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Each home game Friday, Hy-Vee hosts the Big Red Breakfast Buffet on 1620 The Zone. Join the unauthorized Big Red Breakfast Show live from 6 to 10 with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley, and enjoy breakfast from Hy-Vee Market Grill, featuring all your favorite breakfast food. This buffet is sure to make your day. A one-trip buffet is just $12 or all you can eat for only $15. Buffet includes scrambled eggs, party potatoes, bacon, sausage, biscuits and gravy, and assorted pastries. It's the unauthorized Big Red Breakfast at Hy-Vee home game Fridays on 1620 The Zone.
Betting on your favorite sporting events just got a whole lot easier. Warhorse Sportsbook is now open in Omaha. Save yourself the drive across the river and put your money where your mouth is at Horseman's Park, 6303 Q Street. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Get a full breakdown after every Nebraska game with Big Red Overreaction. And this week only, hear Big Red Overreaction with Nick Handley and yours truly, Josh Peterson, on News Talk 1290 Coil. Big Red Overreaction is presented by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. Also brought to you by J. Stinnett Contracting, Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair, and Rotella's Italian Bakery. Immediately after the game, Big Red Overreaction, this week only on News Talk 1290 Coil.
Does eating at home have you singing the blues? Stop by Cobb's at the Shadow Lake Town Center, 180th and Center, or 72nd and Jones to grab a delicious pizza, burgers, fresh salad, and some tasty charred wings. They even offer keto crusts and an extensive variety of shareable appetizers. Dine in, carry out, or delivery. Cobb's, now with 3 convenient locations to serve you. Shadow Lake Town Center, 180th and Center, and 72nd and Jones. Click cobbspizza.com to see the menu, pizza, and so much more.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Put your coffee department in good hands with Host Coffee Service, providing direct delivery and loan coffee equipment with service programs. If you're ready to change to a better coffee provider, it's time for Host Coffee.
Omaha's best coffee since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
Let it fly. Your elevated sports bar experience. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone. Now back on mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620, The Zone.
It's Fridays with Mike Schaefer of Husker 24/7 Sports. Also going to be talking to Matt Verzal here in a moment. Gary's going to rejoin us here at the end of the show, too. Nebraska, Maryland. And I'll read it later, got just a negative Nelly feel for tomorrow from one of our listeners.
Which is fair.
Really having a tough time figuring out how we could be so optimistic about tomorrow's game. I don't know what your tone has been, Jimmy, but my tone has not been optimistic.
I don't have a
there's
feeling.
There's a
That's
path.
What Sip said yesterday. I can't get a feeling.
Yeah, there's a path, but things obviously have to go Nebraska's way. So we shall see. As we welcome in Mike Schaefer of Husker 24/7 Sports. Schaefer, good Friday morning to you, man. How are you?
I'm good. I have lots of thoughts, so here they are.
Okay.
First, I don't know how you guys knew that I was a big fan of the Presidents of the United States of America, but I really enjoy the intro there with Peaches. Great song. Tremendous stuff. Everybody should listen to it. Should be required listening, quite frankly.
Great Friday
as far as I'm concerned. Secondly, and perhaps some would consider most importantly, sometimes do you guys ever wonder if the people that get like really pessimistic or have done the whole Nebraska's never going to win another game this year thing, do you think they realize that the other teams have to play Nebraska too?
Right.
We look at this. Maryland is 5-4.
Mm-hmm.
Their 5-4 consisted of winning their first 5 games. None of the teams that they have beat have more than 3 wins so far this year. That actually was none of them had 2 wins or more than 2 wins until last week when Michigan State, Indiana, Charlotte, someone else all won a third game. And then the other thing is like Maryland has to go and beat Nebraska, and they weren't able to go and beat Northwestern.
Right.
Or Illinois. So why is it always that the crux of everything is that Nebraska can't get it done, Nebraska this, Nebraska that? Sometimes Nebraska might just benefit because the team they play is just not going to play very well.
Right.
And that could happen on Saturday. So I don't even know that you have to take an optimistic tone to reflect the fact that this is very much a 50-50 game.
Yeah.
Despite however people might feel about Nebraska, Maryland has their own work too.
Right. They're
Mike,
not playing Georgia
Mike,
tomorrow.
I don't know why you have to be the voice of reason, especially on I thought this was a feel-good football Friday fiesta, but apparently
He's saying to feel good.
It's a panicky Friday for some. But you're right, because my response to this email was, I hear you about, like, he laid out all the concerns about what Nebraska's been doing and the turnovers and, putting the defense in some bad spots, inconsistent special teams. And all of those things are correct. But, and I did this because, just call me a sicko if you will, but I've said this all week. And maybe I need to get past this because this was my last impression of Maryland. I watched that Maryland Northwestern game. And Mike, we saw Brandon Sullivan the week before against Nebraska. He was bad. I watched him against Maryland, and the guy looked like a magician.
By the way, the sacrifices you make for this job to watch Northwestern for us.
Well, I knew as a future opponent, just call me Connor Stallions. I was scouting. But it was such an inept offense, a lot of dinking and dunking, and I'll give Northwestern credit. They did a good job of tackling in space, but that's something I think Nebraska football does as well, and the defense does as well. But the whole just feel of Maryland in trying to stop what is a very, very below average Northwestern offense, I can't get past that. I understand Nebraska's shortcomings, but I also acknowledge that Maryland has them as well. In fact, they have some pretty glaring ones right now.
Yeah, and I mean they have to show that they can defend a mobile quarterback.
Yep.
They have to show that they have interest in stopping a running game. They have to show that they can do something on offense besides just throw the ball. I mean, they have their own issues. Like every team on the schedule has their own issues. The only team that did not have issues that Nebraska played this year was Michigan.
Yep.
They have their issues, but they are wildly different than everyone else. They can figure them out on their own time. But
yes.
So it's a scenario where you're playing a Maryland team that has talent but is flawed. Like literally every other team on your schedule. So there's no reason to think it's a slam dunk Nebraska's going to win this game. Just like there's no reason to think there's no chance for them to win this game.
Right.
It is truly the 50-50 toss-up that the spread reflects. Like, I think it's a fair spread. I mean, I probably would have Nebraska as a slight favorite, but that's the only minor quibble that I have about it. Like, you can't make either of these teams a full field goal favorite. And with the home, playing at home and playing after Maryland just got assaulted by Penn State, like, I think this is a good time to be playing them, in all honesty. Like, there's a lot of doubt over on that sideline, too.
I don't want to lead off our breakdown with special teams, but it was weird. Take me back to last Saturday, and you see what the strategy is in punt return, and maybe that works in the first half. And the second half was clearly you need some type of spark, and you still have a guy back there that all he can do is fair catch. What was your reaction to that, and what is your expectation with that tomorrow?
My reaction was just sort of disgust, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, no part of me understands, and trust me, I get it. I get the idea that you don't want to lose possession of the ball. Alex Bullock had the muff punt the week before. I understand that. I don't understand if Billy Kemp can't do anything for you as a wide receiver, and the other team knows who Billy Kemp is. They're going to figure it out really quickly. They don't have to worry about hang time. They don't have to worry about anything other than kicking the ball as far as they can. And Michigan State's punter started doing that after the second punt.
Yeah.
And you end up in situations where they know you're not going to return it, and you're fair catching it with 20 yards of space in front of you, which is what happened on Saturday. And then on top of it, you drilled into the brain, fair catch everything. So you start fair catching punts inside the 10-yard line, which is just one of the easiest ways for me to just start yelling at a television. It does not matter who the team is that is doing it. I find it to be some of the worst decision-making possible because you're weighing the difference margin of a couple yards versus the idea of starting at the 20, because that's where it would be with a touchback. So it's a huge, huge risk to field a punt inside your own 7 because you think there's enough backspin that it's going to sit. If you're wrong and it just goes through the end zone, you get a much better result than getting the ball at the 6 instead of the 3. Like, I just don't think there's a big enough difference there. It's not worth it.
So you heard Matt Rule say that Billy Kemp was progressing. To what extent, we don't know. I thought it was interesting that he brought up Emmett Johnson had been working as well as Ethan Nation. Do we anticipate that Nebraska is more aggressive this time around when it comes to the punt return game?
I don't know. I mean, you have two schools of thought, right? Like, this was one of the most visible things from last Saturday. So usually when that happens, they make a marked effort to change it. With that would result in the first person who has the opportunity to field a punt and run with it immediately does. And it being Nebraska, that probably just means they're going to end up fumbling. And then we're going to get a bunch of pointing and friendly fire at each other. And that's how so I played that scenario out so we can just imagine that happening on Saturday. But yeah, I don't know that. Here's the thing. If Billy Kemp can't play as a wide receiver, I don't need him on the field.
Yeah.
Like, his ability to catch punts is valuable. His ability to not return punts seems completely irrelevant to his ability to catch punts. So, and again, you need him as a receiver. So if he's giving you anything, I want him on the field as a receiver.
That's a good point.
So Heinrich Harburg has someone that he feels comfortable throwing the ball to. So my biggest crux isn't getting him on the field to catch the punt. It's getting him in position to catch passes, because that seems like that's an easier, way to help your team than just sticking a guy back there to receive every punt. It's really, the whole thing was weird. It's by far the biggest misstep to me that Matt Rule has made in terms of in-game strategy. He owned all of it. There's nothing more that you can ask a coach to say or do in that situation. He acknowledged that it did not work. He had his reasons for it, and it failed. And so the only hope that you have is that you learn from it and that you don't result giving away that much field position in a game which you ultimately lost by a field.
Shafe, and we're talking to Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7 Sports. Shafe, if Nebraska's offense is to be effective tomorrow, and we'll put aside the turnover part of it, I know that's a big part of it, but as far as schematics go, based on what you know personnel-wise and what we've seen, what does an effective offensive game plan tomorrow, in your opinion, look like?
It looks like what we've seen basically Nebraska do. I mean, here's the thing. They lost on Saturday, and they were largely the same team that they were against Purdue, against Northwestern, and against Illinois. Like, that's who they are. Like, they're going to be a team that's going to have to rely on big plays to move the ball down the field. They're going to be very boom or bust with their quarterback. They're going to be, struggle to hit some of the easier throws, but they're there. I mean, the thing that's probably the most frustrating for Marcus Satterfield, everybody thinks that he calls a bad game. It's only a bad game because the team isn't executing the available play call.
Agreed.
Like, there were guys open on Saturday. Heinrich Harburg has to be significantly better at his job, but he's not the only one. Alex Bullock needs to make that catch on third down to keep the drive alive. The offensive line has to block better. The running game needs to get more of those yards so you have less of these situations where you get a 12-yard run, and then the next time the ball hands off, you get a 2-yard loss, and then it's 2nd and 12. So they have to – there's still progress for everybody to make. It's not just Heinrich Harburg. There's been a lot of, talk about what he has to do. It's everybody on the offense owns a share of why that game was lost on that. The whole team does. That was a total of a team loss that you're going to find this year. And so because of it, I don't think they have to make any drastic changes. I don't think there's changes they can make. This is sort of what they are. And I think this offense can work. It just requires individual pieces to be 5% better than they were against Michigan State. 5% better, Nebraska probably scores 26 points, and they win that game 26-20. But that's just not how it played out on Saturday. So they have to – I think you stick with what has worked for you. I think that you try to get it into the same kind of game script that you've been able to with Illinois and Purdue, where you can try to get a lead, and then you sit your defense on top of Tunga Vailoa, and they're going to pass. You're not going to have to worry about the run. So I don't think you change a lot schematically offensively, and I think you continue to go with what you've been doing, and you got to hope for better execution. I don't think there's any easier answer to that.
Yeah, and you brought up what Maryland does, what we know they do offensively, and again, I'll go back to that Northwestern game where they were able to make Maryland, and teams that have had success against Maryland, they make them so one-dimensional because they abandon the run so very quickly. If you can sort of set that tone. Defensively, you mentioned it was kind of an all-around everybody's to blame kind of effort against Michigan State. If there's one area I feel very confident that has improvements or looks better is the defense. I asked this question yesterday, and I'm curious on your thoughts. What area of the defense against this Maryland offense do you maybe have the most confidence in this matchup?
Well, obviously, Nebraska just against the run in general is the auto. So I'm going to throw that one out.
Yeah.
I think that they can get after Tagovailoa. I think that they can make things difficult for Maryland's offensive line. I gave a couple comparisons out this year, but a lot of it, this feels like a very Purdue type of team.
Mm-hmm.
This is, more the Jeff Brom style of Purdue, and Nebraska's played against this before, where a lot of times you have to be able to survive a couple big plays, but if you can keep yourself in it, your offense is going to have success against that defense. They're going to be one-dimensional. You're trying to hound that quarterback into a bad thrower here. The offensive line usually isn't good enough to hold up against pressure. So I think that Tony White's going to have to be smart when he wants to send pressure. That he's going to have to be judicious about it. I know that he regrets not sending more against Michigan State, but I don't know that means that you're necessarily going to blitz the hell out of Tagovailoa either. So it's going to require, several different things, but I think they can get pressure with their defensive line and then certainly bringing an extra man, and that could make things more difficult for Maryland. Now, where the concern is going to be, can they play well enough in coverage that it's just not easy throws, in 1.5 seconds for Tagovailoa? I mean, that's going to be the challenge.
Yeah, that's a good point. Before I let you go, I did have 2 recruiting questions. One, I want to get the latest on Grant Brix. As far as I know, he is still taking some visits, so that does look like this thing is probably going to come down to the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no difference from what I said last week, which at this point I'm anticipating a December announcement decision. He's going to take visits to Kansas State, to Oklahoma. He's going to see all of those schools another time. He does not appear ready to shut it down, but I think Nebraska is in a really good spot. He is very tight with Carter Nelson. He's very tight with Daniel Kalen. He obviously really likes Matt Rule and the coaching staff. So all of this, I think, sets up pretty well for ultimately what Nebraska, wants with Grant Brix. And here's the other thing. The best part of it, if you do miss out on him, it's not like you're going to have to play him in conference. So This isn't a situation where, it's an Iowa or something like that. So I think because of that, it's a little less apprehensive than if this was a top guy. And, when you're having to recruit against Iowa and Wisconsin and all of that, then, you got to go play him if you lose.
Also, and I asked you this question, on the wake of losing Kwan Lacey officially, running back search continuing. Has Nebraska made any headway there? Any guys on the radar that you're hearing about?
Travion Dunbar was the running back I talked about last week that said he was coming in for this game. I haven't been able to completely confirm that yet, but he could be someone of note. He's a 2024 from South Carolina that's been tearing up that state at the high school level. He does have an ACL tear in his history. I think that has kind of slowed some of his recruiting despite all of the numbers that he has put up. I think they're still kind of sifting through some of the running back file and figure out who and what they want. We know they're going to go into the transfer portal, but I think they'll identify somebody, and I wouldn't be surprised if Iowa or the weekend after they're going to start having official visits in for that position.
It's Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7 Sports, joining us. Schaefer, what's the weekend going to be other than a little Husker football tomorrow?
I'm sure there's a bunch of projects I could do around the house that aren't going to happen. I'll be locked into that very exciting battle between what is now the middle tier of NFL quarterbacks, that is Joshua Dobbs and Derek Carr, which doesn't reflect very well for Derek Carr, who probably, would expect to be higher than that. But yeah, so that's what my weekend looks like. A lot of football. I'm very disappointed this Michigan-Penn State game is happening at 11 a.m. at the same time.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to watch that. And maybe we'll see bad Big Ten officiating, but used as sort of a justice against Michigan. Maybe that's what we get.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's a way that Big Ten get back.
Giving that Big 12 treatment.
Yeah,
it's terrible at this.
Yeah, and you know what? No one would even think that there's an issue right there, because they would just be like, well, no, the Big Ten officiating has been bad all year. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Shafe, have a great weekend, my man. Appreciate you coming on.
All right, guys. Take care.
Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7 Sports. Speaking,
the voice of reason.
Speaking of which, this was it a Pete tweet? Did we get a Pete tweet?
Oh, so it was sound worthy.
Let me just make sure this was coming from Pete. I saw a ESPN update, and okay, this wasn't from Pete, but ESPN reporting that this is Heather Dinich. We got a Dinich tweet. I don't know if we have a sound effect for that one.
I don't think she gets a.
Yeah, she doesn't get a sound effect yet because she doesn't have
to
it. But she is saying, according to her sources, that there is a expected Big Ten punishment that is coming today. That there is
10 lashes at the town square.
Yeah, whatever that is remains to be seen. But yes, according to Heather Dinich, that the Big Ten is considering a wide range of punishments, everything from indefinite suspension to public reprimand or lofty fine.
Federal pound me at never mind.
So there you go. Heather Dinich goes on to say, if it's more than 2 games or $10,000, the Big Ten will need special permission from an executive board composed of league reps. But that could be coming today. A response could be coming as early as this afternoon. So there you go. In case you were wondering, because I know you were, because there's something every day on it.
From Brett McMurphy, Saturday's 28-point over-under for Rutgers at Iowa is lowest in college football history. The lowest totals, the top 3, Iowa versus Rutgers, followed by 30.5, Iowa versus Northwestern last week, and a couple weeks back, Iowa versus Minnesota, 30.5. Oh, but there's more. Fourth is 31.5, Air Force Army from last week. But then the next two,
gotta get a service academy.
The next 2 from last year, Iowa versus Minnesota, 22, and Iowa versus Kentucky in 22, both 31.5. So, hey, congratulations.
Wow.
You say something, Sugar?
We'll go any lower. That's the question. Nebraska, Iowa. Very well could. Very well could. All right, big game for our next guest, Matt Verzel, as Scott will be taking on Waverly in the Class B semifinals. We'll get his thoughts on what he saw in East Lansing and what he expects for tomorrow. Verz, up next. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Previously on The Crossover.
And we rolled him over on the side. He hit one of those ruts, turned 45 degrees sideways, hit the retaining wall, and eventually started going end over end. And so every time the top of the barrel, the exposed end, you'd see his arms flame. And then we stood there at the top of the hill. We were looking at each other going, do we go down and save him or do we run?
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, The Connor Happer Show, Unsportsmanlike Conduct, 6A to 6P, 1620, The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from Canoyer Garden Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Cooling off as we wrap up the week Friday. Chilly to start with tons of sunshine throughout the morning, then a few more clouds moving in through the afternoon. Winds remain light most of the day with highs around 50. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Our Cox mobile plans are like a band. The more people you add, the better it sounds. So, add more lines to save more. Pay as low as $30 per line when you add 4 or more gig unlimited lines. It's easy. I like the sound of that. Visit cox.com/mobile. 4 lines required for $30 per line. Price max of 5 lines. Prices exclude taxes, device activation, and other fees and charges, which are subject to change. Cox postpaid internet required. Other restrictions apply.
Hey, Connor. What's up? So, you're getting an Auto Express Lane certificate in less than a year?
I need to put my career in the fast lane.
And Jenny, in just 5 months, you earned a veterinary assistant certificate?
It's kind of a pet project.
JC, is that
blood? Yeah, I'll be certified as a phlebotomy tech in just 5 months.
A positive, JC? Earn a career certificate in less than a year. Get started at mccneb.edu/adults. Classes start December 2nd.
This is me at MCC.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you speaking right away. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks. Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
And now, try Babbel free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
It's that time on a Friday. Matt Verzel, former Husker, joins us. You can also hear the Husker Hangover on the YouTube channel every Sunday after a Nebraska game. Verz, good morning, man. How are you?
What's going on, boys? How we doing?
Good. You got a big game tonight as well. Everybody lathered up, ready to go?
Yeah, ready as can be. So not much you can do. The hay is in the barn, as you know, always used to say. So it's time to go play.
Is this one going to be, given like what I've heard from Waverly too, kind of a smash mouth more affair that you guys are anticipating tonight?
Oh yeah, yeah. Waverly always is physical team. They're really well coached. Their offensive line they are probably as technically sound as anybody in the state. And that's not just because we're playing them. If you go watch their film, you can see it. And then they got really good players. Number 11's real good, 27, 9, 4. It's a good organization. They've done a nice job out there in Waverly building the program.
Looking forward to seeing how it all unfolds tonight in A, B, C, and beyond. I was listening to the Husker Hangover, and can you something that I feel needs more explaining? Can you tell me about your guys' bus trip into East Lansing?
From when we played there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were. I love that. I really liked that stadium. Like, that was one of my favorite stadiums that we played in. But we're pulling in, and there was a lady. And, you get to, like, it used to. Now, I haven't been there in 100 years, but it used to have these little kind of four-way stops. Not very big roads, not built for buses the size of the buses, built a long time ago, and we were there before any renovation.
Yeah.
So she was kind of inching up toward the four-way stop where she was supposed to stop at, and the bus driver kind of like tried to get her to back up, and she wouldn't back up. So he just went and got after the front of her car, and we didn't stop. We just kept going. He dropped us off and was like, I'll deal with that later. Like, all right, thanks, man. Good on you.
Okay. I was curious on, exactly when you're trying to explain it about how he gave her a warning, and then at that point, it's like, all right, you've been warned.
Yeah, he didn't. Once he, kind of did the honk, and she didn't really acknowledge it.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Here we go. And just ran it over.
So I want to start with your assessment of the defense a week ago. And you said something that I would totally agree with when it comes to maybe using a baseball analogy of they didn't have their fastball. I've talked about this in baseball where, if you're a starting pitcher, you go out, you might have your best stuff 1 out of every 5 starts. And after the other 4, you got to figure out ways to win. And you said you felt like Nebraska didn't have their fastball defensively, which I would totally agree. Did you feel, though, like they did do enough to put Nebraska in any respectable modern-day offense, still put Nebraska in a position to win the game?
No, still did more than enough to win the game. If you go out with the way college football is now, and I know there's offenses that struggle and scoring is down in the NFL. But if you hold somebody to 20 points as a coaching staff, you got to feel really good.
Yeah.
Like, we're about to win this thing by at least 10 points. Shouldn't be a problem, shouldn't be a concern. So they, you got beat on a gadget play, and then there was a receiver that made a catch that they ruled was a completion, and then you had one other long one down the middle where I think a coverage might have got confused. So you had a guy running wide open, but that's what they did was you can't have one phase of your team be perfect every single game. They're going to have a bad game. And you got to pick them up. Now, this team, make no bones about it, is led by the defense. The defense is the straw that stirs the drink. So when they're off, the offense then has to go and do their job and do it better than they're doing it, and pick up the defense as the defense has picked up the offense numerous times throughout the year.
What, in your opinion, is the margin for error, if you will, between the talent that the offensive side possesses to the play caller and the plays that he's calling? And do you see that there are plays being called that are designed well but aren't being executed, or do you see some flaws in the play calling as well?
I don't know enough about the thing you look for in play callers, and play callers are a dying breed. You have people that hold an offensive coordinator title that want to show you how their playbook works. They don't necessarily want to show you how rhythmically they can work a system. Okay? So what that means is every play, take it to what we've already done this year. Nebraska was able in the game to establish a sprint option type of look.
Yep.
Right? When that sprint option look works, safeties, corners, outside linebackers all start to peak. If you have any remnants of speed at all on the outside, once they peak, you get to some people's favorite phrase, if they're even, they're leaving. And then you can complete the pass. These are things that work, but that's a rhythm. You have to establish that play can work. I'm not saying run sprint option one play, then run sprint option pass the next play.
Yeah.
But when you get in a rhythm and you say, okay, we're going to run sprint option, we're going to run a little counter here, and then when we get to like third and or ideally second and 2, we run sprint option. They're going to think we want to get a first down. What we're going to do is take a shot over the top of it. We're going to score to get the crowd fired up and get them going. So the rhythmic nature of the play calling, I struggle with. I don't see it very much. It's like, okay, let's run this.
Yeah.
That got 3 yards. Let's try something else. Let's throw this at the wall and see if it sticks. When you find things that you establish, like Nebraska didn't run the ball terribly.
Right, I agree.
But you have to just press on with that and say, okay, what play action do we have off of this? What look can we give that is the same but different, to coin a phrase from Paul Stewart? But it looks like we're going to do the same thing, but it goes to a different person. Like, that all factors in, and I don't think that's the way the play calling goes right now.
We're talking to Matt Virzel here on 1620 The Zone. Okay, I know you would have watched this and you would have seen this a little bit more expertly than I would have. And you brought up Nebraska running the football against Michigan State, which I'm with you. In fact, in the first quarter, especially on the left side of that offensive line, it looked like there was daylight. It looked like they were getting helmets on guys, and there were some battles being won. Did you see this? Did you see something similar, especially in the first half, and especially with the left side of that offensive line, given that you have Teddy Prohaska and Justin Evans-Jenkins that are still making starts, relatively new starts right now in this season? I mean, did that show up at all in your assessment?
They were doing fine. I mean, it's the thing with it though. Again, not every play, but it like when you are an offense that is struggling and you find something that you are having success with, run it to the one side, try something else to the other side, go back and just, you have to continually test it and see if it works. And eventually they have to make a defensive adjustment. Like, there's no shame in calling the same thing 2-3 times in a row, because they still think, oh, that was a one-off. They're not going to do it again. Oh, they did it again. There's no way they do it again. They did it again. Like in high school, we ran the same play in one game 35 times.
Yeah.
The same play, the same direction, 35 times. Because here's the even bigger flex. If you know we're going to run it and you adjust to it and you still can't stop it, now we don't, play calling is easy. We're going to run this play until you stop it. And it, like, I can't tell you enough the psyche increase, boost that it gives to your linemen when they know, hey man, we just got 6 here. They're going to run this again. Oh my God, we got 6 more. They're going to do this. We're doing it again. Sweet. They feel better about themselves, and that matters. They're these big tough guys, and they play football, and they're still human beings. Still need to know that they're trusted. So just, if you find something that works, run it till they stop it.
Lastly, and this maybe is what your feel for tomorrow is from what you've seen from this team and the matchup with Maryland, but also it seems like now you can, if you're a player, you could look at just 3 games remaining and sitting there at 5 wins, that this is a great opportunity where maybe that pressure is ramped up even more so than what it was a week ago. How do you feel this team responds tomorrow?
They are pretty lucky that they didn't play that Michigan State game at home, because I'm guessing if they had played that at home, they would have had another Sunday practice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them, and this is just a 9-game sample size, but I don't feel that I've seen them play poorly in back-to-back games.
Yep, that's fair.
So I see that not happening. I see adjustments being made. I see a crowd, I envision a crowd at this game that is just rabid. Like at 11 a.m., get a little boozed up, and you go in there and you just raise high hell. Anytime Maryland has a football, make it as deafening as possible. If they get a first down, if they get a touchdown, it doesn't matter. When they get it back, it's still loud, where you make it uncomfortable for them. Unfortunately, I can't control weather, because I'd like it to be about 12 degrees, and it'd be all right, but I don't think we're going to get that. Right. So control what you can control, right? The fans can control how loud they are.
Yeah.
You're part of this too. We want you to go bowling just as much as we want Nebraska to go bowling. We want the fans to go have a time, have a day. But you can control your execution on offense. You can control how quick your feet are. You can control not leaning out over your toes when you're blocking. You can control catching the football and helping your quarterback out that struggles at times to put it on the money. You can help them. You can help by protecting the football when you're running it. Control what you can control in this game, and you come out with a win. And then now your next 2, you're with house money.
Yep.
You got not a care in the world, because you don't want to get to the last 2 and still need that 6th win. And old habits die hard. Old puckered sphincter for those last 2. You don't need that. You need to be playing loose and free. So just man up, go get this win, and put it all to rest. 1 goal crossed off the list. You got 2 more chances after this game to do other things, but right now that's your only focus, and everybody's in together. Control what you can control and win.
Vers, well said. Hey, best of luck tonight as well, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, buddy. Should be a head knocker, so we'll see. We'll see who emerges victorious.
All the best, man.
You best.
That's Matt Verzel. Awesome stuff there, and he's right. He's right. This is where the crowd, an 11 a.m. crowd, Jimmy, can't be like, and I'm not saying a typical Nebraska 11 a.m. crowd, but can't be your typical college football environment, 11 a.m. crowd.
Put it to you this way.
This needs to be 11 a.m. Nebraska, Colorado, 1994 crowd.
Yeah, it's an ABC game.
Yeah.
Put it to you this way. This is your last Saturday home game of the year.
True.
Last
yes,
game
true.
is a Friday.
True.
It's a holiday Friday. But if you just want to cut loose on a Saturday, and I know what Verz is saying, 12 degrees, and I'd take Nebraska and then some. But 48, going to be kind of gray.
Got
you
some
know what? A
little bit of
nice
wind.
November day.
Yeah.
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 By the way, Lee Sterling texted me. He says Kansas big tomorrow.
Okay, good. Because I got him in my 4-quarter pick 'em. Real quickly on a high school football note, this is worth mentioning because I saw this brought up in our stream as well.
By the way, thanks to everybody playing along on the
Yes,
stream. We've got a lot of people
we always appreciate that. M. Bigley says, rooting for Sydney tonight. Cousins on the staff. The Sydney story is awesome, by the way. This is their first football semifinal since 1993.
I remember that.
Think about it. Yeah. I was a freshman in high school.
5th grade.
That was also the last time that the Sydney football program has had a 10-win season. So if you're looking for an underdog story, there you go. Sydney is playing in a state semifinal for the first time since 1993. That is something. And as Verz indicated too, yeah, that Waverly Scott game should be good. Gary told you also about the rematch between Elkhorn North and Bennington in Class B. So yeah, we've got some intriguing semifinal matchups. Speaking of Gary, he's going to rejoin us as we're going to get some final thoughts, get some bold predictions, our pick to click, our Sunday headlines, everything, and our score prediction too. Coming your way as we wrap things up. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley here on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley.
It's an NFL doubleheader on Sports USA. And first, we're in Pittsburgh as the tough Steelers D with Fitzpatrick and Watt will try to shut down Love and the Packers.
Touchdown, Green Bay, Romeo Dobbs.
Then it's off to LA as Herbert, Eckler, and the Chargers host the Detroit Lions with Jared Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs. It's the Packers at the Steelers, then the Lions at the Chargers. This Sunday on Sports USA.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone.
Do you hear what we hear? Omaha Steaks has tons of jobs and hours. Right now, we're hiring for a variety of seasonal positions in our warehouses. Make this holiday extra jolly with a great employee discount on gourmet foods you can use all year long. To view available job openings and to apply online, go to omahasteaks.com/jobs or text steaks to 22633 to apply today. 'Tis the season to make some holiday cash at Omaha Steaks.
Here's today's Husker Max Practice Report, brought to you by Tickets for Less on 1180 and 1620 The Zone.
Husker football head coach Matt Rule laid out what the defense will see from Maryland.
This week presents unique challenges in that they're going to come out and they're going to go tempo. They're going to come out and they're going to throw RPOs. They're going to come out and they're going to throw perimeter screens. They're going to come out and they're one of 3 teams in the country that's thrown 30 passes in every game in the last 2 years. 12 straight games with touchdown passes. I mean, they're going to chuck it. They're going to throw it around. They're also going to run it. They're also going to get the ball on the perimeter. They have excellent playmakers, great quarterback, great scheme. So for us, it's, you can't change what you do. It's about our guys just focusing in and trusting themselves and making their play. And
in terms of injuries for Nebraska, Malcolm Hartzog is expected to play. Princewill Umanmielen is still in concussion protocol. Billy Kemp might have a bigger role on the offense after spraining his MCL, and Deshaun Singleton is officially out. For The Zone, I'm Matt McMaster.
The Husker Max Practice Report, brought to you by Tickets for Less on 1180 and 1620 The Zone.
Attention all Nebraska Huskers football fans. Get ready for an electrifying season of college football with Tickets for Less. Experience the thrill of the game and witness the power of a new era under our exciting new head coach. And here's the best part. Use promo code THEZONE to score incredible savings on your Husker tickets from Tickets for Less. Whether you're cheering from the stands at Memorial or plan to catch a game on the road, Tickets for Less has the seats you need. Don't miss out on this opportunity to be part of the Huskers journey. Visit ticketsforless.com and use promo code THEZONE today.
Does eating at home have you singing the blues? Stop by Cops at the Shadow Lake Town Center, 180th and Center, or 72nd and Jones to grab a delicious pizza, burgers, fresh salad, and some tasty charred wings. They even offer keto crusts and an extensive variety of shareable appetizers. Dine in, carry out, or delivery. Cops, now with 3 convenient locations to serve you. Shadow Lake Town Center, 180th and Center, and 72nd and Jones. Click copspizza.com to see the menu, pizza, and so much more.
Elevate your driving experience at Woodhouse Buick GMC. Receive up to $2,250 off MSRP on the 2023 Buick Envision Preferred, or shop the 2023 Buick Enclave Avenir and save up to $3,000 off MSRP. Shop our current inventory online anytime at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. Woodhouse Buick GMC. We are professional grade. With approved credit, must have 2009 or newer trade-in to qualify. $299 doc fee due at signing. Offer expires November 30th, 2023. See dealer for details.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Okay, good stuff from our guest today. Brett Ciancia, Lee Sterling, Mike Schaefer, Matt Verzel. Gary Sharp's having a party. How's breakfast, by the way?
Good. You will see here shortly, Omaha men's basketball is practicing at someone's house.
Nice.
Wait, what?
That's got to be a house.
Oh,
are you guys at Mahomes' house or something?
We are practicing at someone's house.
In the driveway. I love it.
Now, you're in Texas. There's a lot of Texas, millionaires out there, too. Did you guys find a Texas resident that has, like, an indoor court?
Think of basketball players that have a 94-foot basketball court in their house that either are from this area or live in this area. I will share pictures later.
Jimmy, this is your state. You should know this.
Wait, I thought I didn't have any of that stuff.
No, well, I'm not saying it's
lucky
your
to get
house.
season tickets to the Spurs.
Yeah. So I'm kind of
that's
incognito
cool.
here. I had to find a quiet place.
Well, that's very, very cool. All right,
Hey, I know
cool.
we don't have a lot of time. I said earlier, give me Nebraska in 2.5. It's going to be a close game. There will not be all of a sudden Maryland and Nebraska figure out the turnover issue. It is when do those turnovers occur and what do you do with them? But I think Nebraska finds a way to win the football game. It will be close tomorrow, and they will do it because they have put so much pressure on the defense that the defense does not break, and they find a way to make a stop and to make Maryland so one-dimensional that Baby Tua has thrown it all over the place, and Nebraska finds a way to get a pick to take care of the game.
Do you have a pick to click?
Pick to click in this game will be Luke Reimer.
Okay. We're similar mindset there. I'm not going Luke, but I am going in that area. Isaac Gifford, I think, has a very large game as well. My bold predictions, this one I kind of laugh at because it shouldn't be bold, but for Nebraska it is. They will advance 2 punts, at least 2 punts tomorrow. That's one. Nebraska will have 2 explosive plays in the passing game, and Nebraska defense holds Maryland to under 50 yards rushing. Those are my bold predictions tomorrow. My score is Nebraska wins. They do not cover, but they win 21-20. And yes, the Sunday headline is Huskers keep the Terps in shell.
You have a talent for this. Did you also work at the World
This is
Herald?
where I
once
think
upon
of
a
it the
time?
night before. I'm like, oh, what could be fun? What would pop off of the front page there? But
Do people still own turtles?
I hope not. Actually, I take that back. My brother-in-law used to have one when I first met Jenny. I don't believe the turtle made the move from downtown Chicago to Skokie, but he did. He was more of a city turtle, you know. He's good.
What did you throw it? Just toss it out the window into the Chicago River as you're driving by?
Probably, just let him be at peace with his friends. It was probably part of the dying of the river, the Green River on St. Patty's Day. But yeah, he's a city turtle. He's not a burbs turtle, so I think he stayed back.
Lots of profanity. Just tough.
Turtles are just
Shell's
boring.
all beaten up.
Why would you want a turtle? They're boring. They're boring.
Well, Ninja Turtles weren't boring.
Yeah. You tell me you got a turtle that you can put like a little green bandana and headband around, and he's got like swords and stuff. Then maybe I'll think about a turtle. Jimmy, where are you at on this
answering
tomorrow?
to a rat. All right, picks to click. I like Emmett Johnson to have a big game, especially after sitting here in the 4 hours. Run the ball. It's a run the ball day, and he's going to factor big in it. A couple of predictions. I'm going to keep saying it till I finally get it because I just really believe eventually it's going to happen. We're going to get a defensive score tomorrow. One of these days it will be right.
Ooh,
And I do
right.
think Fedoni will score a passing TD. You talked about the intermediate passing. I mean, that sounds like it's got to be him. Safe passes, but get the tight end open, get things going. Nebraska wins 24-17. And your headline, any headline's not as good as the ones you have. That's just because the Huskers bowl over Terps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's boring.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Boys, this one is going to be – this is a nut cutter for sure. This one is a nut cutter.
That sounds painful.
I feel like this is going to be close either way. If this comes down to a final drive either way, my God.
Interception of Baby Tua in the end zone.
Don't you guys feel like in order for Nebraska to get to that 6th win, though, it can't be easy? I mean, nothing with this team is going to be.
Tomorrow will not be easy at all. I think it'll be a game that's played a lot between the 20s. Both teams are going to turn the ball over. It's just when do you turn the ball over? And nothing with this team is easy.
Dare I say we're going to see a last minute drive, whether that's, as you said, Tua forced into the game clinching interception, or
that seems realistic.
Oh God, Nebraska has to have a come from behind final drive.
All run plays.
I don't know what that would look like, but I know I'm not 100% confident on this one because I've had not as much of a feel for it, but I think the one area that I can rely on tomorrow, and Verz said it here a little bit ago, hasn't seen this team have back-to-back bad performances, and especially that defense as well. That's a sign of moving in the right direction. That's a sign of a team that's figuring out. Yeah. And I think that's a sign of a team that is still figuring out how to win football games and maybe has a couple of things figured out when you can bounce back like that against a team. Like Schaefer said earlier, too, this is not all about what Nebraska does bad and how Gary, I got an email earlier where someone was really questioning how we could be so optimistic or really giving Nebraska a puncher's chance in this one. I said, it's not because we think Nebraska is so much better or in a better spot. Maryland's got their demons. Maryland also has their issues that they're coming on the road with too. So this is not about, well, we just think we have that much confidence in Nebraska. There's just, again, some lack of confidence in Maryland as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything is out there. The Maryland struggles on the road. They struggle in the month of November. They can't run the football. I mean, it's 2 5-4 teams, and it'll be that way for a reason. And I also think Nebraska learned their lesson last week. Truly, Nebraska doesn't feel like Michigan State manhandled and beat them. The Nebraska left opportunities out there. So we'll see how they respond. I mean, this is a coach's game to get guys so that last week doesn't beat you this week, because how do you handle pressure with what's on the line tomorrow? And then, of course, if you don't win tomorrow. But I agree with Verz. They haven't had back-to-back clunkers.
Yeah. Sharpie, we did get someone asking if you're at Buddy Hield's house.
You'll find out shortly.
All right. We look forward to that.
Stay tuned to social
Sharpie,
media.
safe,
wholesome content.
Safe travels.
You guys
Have
want
a
me
great
to steal
call.
anything?
Yeah, of course.
For the studio, decorations, donations.
Yeah, you need to bring one random trinket.
It is an NBA player that his team is not playing in Dallas. So he's not with the Mavs or the Clippers. But Mark Cuban did offer up his suite to tonight's Clippers-Mavs game because he is with his daughter on a visit at Ohio State this weekend.
Look at this little
there's a Big Ten
random trip in Texas and non-conference play turning out to be quite the storytelling experience. Heck yeah. I love it. This is great. Well, enjoy your time in the Lone Star State. We'll see you back here on Monday.
Hey, thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. Have a good call tonight, Nick, for hockey. And Jimmy, stay safe. And rock chalk Hunter Dickinson. Just remind everybody why Jalen Daniels should come to Nebraska.
Exactly. There you go. Do your part. All right.
Thanks,
again,
guys.
see you, Sharpie. For Gary, for Jimmy, I'm Nick. Connor Happer Show is coming up next. Don't forget, tomorrow we've got Creighton Hoops for you. We've got UNO basketball on our sister station as well. We've got Omaha hockey tonight on Coil, so a big weekend of sports. And, of course, Nebraska and Maryland with Big Red Overreaction tomorrow with myself and Josh Peterson. that will follow the game, and that will be on Coil because of Creighton basketball. Enjoy the weekend. We will talk to you on Monday with a full recap. Look forward to doing so. Have a great weekend. You've been listening to Mornings Sharp Handley, 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this